thing you talked about Monday. I didn't give you one today. You know, sometimes
Huh?
Ready to push off?
Yeah, as soon as clerk tell me he ready over there. As soon as he take his seat and stuff. Calling to order the Caddo Parish Commission meeting for August 5th, regular session. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Present.
Commissioner Johnson.
Present.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young. Commissioner Burrell.
Here.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Present.
Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Taliaferro.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Present.
All right, 10 of 12 members are present. That is a quorum.
Okay. I also want to remind everyone that our current protocol is to have masks or facial coverings required inside the chamber for everyone sitting in the audience. At times, commissioners will not wear masks because we are within plexiglass, so we are considered isolated from each other. So you might see us without a mask on during our meeting. At this time, we'll ask Commissioner Epperson to lead us in invocation and Commissioner Chavez to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and ask everyone to please stand.
We're going to do a scripture today, 2 Timothy, the 1st chapter and the 7th verse. I repeat, 2 Timothy, the 1st chapter and the 7th verse. For God had not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. Be not thou therefore ashamed of the testimony of our Lord, nor of me his prisoner, but be thou partakers of the afflictions of the gospel according to the power of God, who had saved us and called us with a holy calling, not according to our works, but according to his purpose and grace, and was given us in Christ Jesus before the world began. May God have a blessing to the readers, the hearers, and the doers of his word.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Everybody please place the flag, place your right hand over your heart. If you're a military veteran, you may render a hand-to-brow salute and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Everson and Commissioner Chavez.
Yes, sir.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
The next item is agenda additions. I don't have any agenda additions unless you have any today.
I don't have any.
Okay, and just as a brief mention, yesterday when the MPC met in here, they did have some sound problems. So I don't know if anyone, I'm able to hear all of you fine, but if you're not able to hear somebody or if some sound is going out, if you could let me know, we'll try to mitigate that if that should arise. So just as a FYI.
Mr. Clerk.
I can hardly hear you over here.
So your sound is low over there?
Yeah, it's not very strong over here either.
Can't hear you.
Okay, we will get to the control room real quick and see if we can't get that sound adjusted, because I can hear on this side. Last night, what was happening to the MPC is that they couldn't hear up here, but the audience could hear very loudly. So they're working on it right now. Yeah, they're working on it.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
The next item is going to be citizens' comments. Citizens who wish to address the commission are asked to fill out a comment form such as these. They're in the lobby, and return that to the president or the clerk of commission. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes. We have received a number of citizens' comments forms, and I have a couple more here as well.
Commissioner Everson.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, due to the popularity of a couple of items on the agenda today, I'd like to make a motion that we would advance item 12.5 and 12.6. That's ordinance, I'm sorry, let's see. Right, item 12.5 and 12.6 to the top of the agenda right after the public hearing. If I can get a second.
I second that.
Okay, my reason being there's a lot of interest here, a lot of people in the audience, sometimes it's their first time coming down, they've been having issues with problems. We have a long agenda, so an item of this amount of interest, I think we should advance it to the top, but we can get that out of the way and those citizens can leave. Thank you.
Okay, and that was 12.5 and 12.6.
Yes, sir, that's resolution number 60 of 2021 and resolution number 61.
12.5 and 12.6.
The 12.5?
That's
not what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's 18.1
Yeah,
and
18.1 and
18.2.
18. Yeah. It's 18.1 and 18.2.
Yeah, 18.
So the correction on the motion would be 18.1 and 18.2.
18.1 and 18.2, the two resolutions. Just as a comment, I think perhaps the difference in those numbers may have been that those may have been the numbers from the work session.
Okay.
But the 18.1 and 2 are the correct numbers for the two resolutions.
Right.
Mr. President, a point of clarification, is Commissioner Epperson proposing that they speak at the top of the agenda or after citizens'
Well,
comments?
I was gonna move those two resolutions after citizens' comments.
Right, that was my wish.
Yeah, we need to let the citizens speak.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to vote on suspending the rules to allow resolution 60 and 61 to be heard after the citizens' comments. Seeing no one on the board, let's vote.
All right, and that motion passes with 11 in favor and 1 absent.
Okay. We'll now go to citizens' comments. You read the disclaimer already, Mr. Clerk?
I did.
Okay.
Would you like me to read it again?
No, that's fine. First person up is Miss Susie Turner. And to remind everyone that citizens have 3 minutes to speak, and you can also look at the clock.
Okay, am I allowed to take off my mask
You
to
can take
talk?
your mask off when you come to the podium.
Okay. Sorry, it's caught on my glasses here. Yes, I'm going to talk really, really rapidly because I only have 3 minutes. But I have already taken the appropriate measures at the lowest level to go to libraries and to turn in reasons why we should remove some of these books off of our children's circulation. It has not been done so I want you to know that this is kind of the next step. I did try to take care of this previously. I'm going to really go through this super quickly. I did pass out some of these so that you can look through them. The first one is Not My Idea, a book about whiteness that is on display in our children's section for young children that can read, to be able to open up and read. It talks about your whiteness being a bad idea. Innocence is overrated. These are all things that you can find in there. At the end, there's a contract that you have to sign for your whiteness, that you stole land, you stole riches, you did all of these things. Whiteness gets you endlessly. It gets you friends, it gets you favors, it gets you all these human things. This is everything against what your library policy quotes in your very first statement, that is anti-racism. Because just because this is geared towards white children, mind you, not even adults that can maneuver their way through this, white children, that they're shamed. This is hate speech. This is hate speech. My young white boys, which I shouldn't even have to say white in front of it, they go to bed, they wake up, guess what? They're still white. They can't change that. That's a God-given thing. God made them that way, created them in the womb, okay? If this was any other color, and it shouldn't matter, brown, your brownness is a bad idea, your blackness is a bad idea, that is racism. It is racism. This book should not be in circulation, and I've asked for it to be removed, much less on display. It shouldn't be on display. The next one is ABCs of Equality. LGBTQ, pick the letter that makes you you. This is a board book for 3-year-olds. This is over-sexualization of our young children. It is wrong. This book, at the very best, should have to be requested by a parent to be able to read to their child, not placed on a bookshelf where my son opens it up and learns about all kinds of pronouns that is just incorrect grammar, okay? So that's my fight today, that we take these books off of here because they're racist and they're wrong and they're over-sexualizing young kids. This is confusion, division, and it's just hateful. And God doesn't call us to do that. He calls us to love our neighbors. These are children we're talking about, not adults. So that's my fight today, to have these removed from circulation in the Shreveport Memorial Library. And if I could have 5 seconds to talk to Mr. Epperson. He is my neighbor, and I just want to say, Mr. Ken, that you're such a great neighbor. You exude what being a great neighbor is about, and we should have more people like you, sir. So I appreciate that. All right. Thank you for your time. Y'all have a very blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't pay to have that said. Yeah, right. Surprise to me.
Next person is Ronald Gray.
Hello, my name's Ronald Gray. I live at 8132 Timmons Trail, Blanchard area. I'm here in opposition to the proposal for a 6-month ban on drilling and on fracking, because many of us have very small tracts out there and we're counting on that money for retirement. I'm retired from the state and I can tell you it doesn't go very far. So some of us need that to send our kids to college, and it's very important. Now, if you get a moratorium for 6 months, what can happen is people that have had lots move back to town, they reserve their minerals may run out during that 6 months because the oil company can't come in and drill. You have then denied them that income without compensation. You've taken that right from them. And so I want to encourage you that don't, because there may be a problem with an oil site with dust or noise, address that. Take the splinter out of the eye rather than cutting the head off. And because that's the best analogy. You're attacking a whole industry for maybe a bad operator. And please deal with that on local levels. I know from being an environmental scientist with the state, there's lots of laws and regulations you guys have got that y'all can use if that's a local problem, okay? So I want to encourage you to rethink, please, denying us little small guys. We don't have the hundreds of thousands of acres of land. We're not getting rich, but it sure would help on our retirements and send our kids to school. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next person is M. Trey Moore.
All right. Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing me this time. I, too, am in opposition for the moratorium on drilling. I'm going to start real quick with a little history that I found. In 1870, while drilling a water well for the Shreveport Ice Factory, they discovered natural gas, and they ended up using that to light the factory at night. Was pretty genius of these guys a long time ago, and that's 1870, not 1970. First natural gas compressor, and natural gas compression is a billion-dollar industry worldwide, just so the people don't know the industry. The first one was in Rodessa, Caddo Parish. By 1910, Caddo Parish accounted for 75% of Louisiana's total oil production. I say all that to say this. There's been a 150-year partnership between Caddo Parish and the oil and gas industry. The industry provides approximately $130 million in annual wages in Caddo Parish. For every job created, 3.4 additional jobs in other sectors are created. Caddo Parish in 2016 had 20+ million in ad valorem tax. And I'm getting all this from Dr. Lawrence Scott that presented this paper in 2016. So these numbers are probably a lot higher with the DNR. So you ask, can we afford to lose this revenue? More importantly, can you guys make the cuts necessary if you don't have the revenue to make up for the loss, what we're losing? And for those, I am in the industry, but for those who wonder, well, you know, you don't have to put up with it, I'll have you know I just moved, and 1.1 miles from my front door, they just finished completing a well in front of our neighborhood, or recompleting it, I'm sorry. The third well this year has been fracked in less than 2 miles from my front door. So I deal with it. I see the lines, I see the dirt in the road, but considering the partnership and the money that it brings, and that money goes to paying teachers, paving roads, so it more than makes that up. So I ask y'all to think about that, because I know the authority lies in the DNR, but this should never make it out of Caddo Parish to go there. Get back to the jobs. Every one of you commissioners, I would venture to say, have a lot of constituents that either work in the oil and gas industry, or they own companies, restaurants, hotels. What are we going to tell those people when their hotels aren't full, their restaurants aren't getting participated in, because 6 months these guys are gone? That's something that I hope y'all think about when we get to this vote, because this is a very important issue, and I think it's important to all of us, whether we realize it or not. But again, I appreciate your time, and look forward to seeing how the vote turns out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Moore.
you, sir.
Next person is Candy Peavy.
Good afternoon, Candy Peavy, 71106 Shreveport. I kind of really don't even know what to say to you guys anymore. We're talking about mandating a vaccine for Caddo Parish employees, which apparently the last time we met was brought down to a recommendation. But then with the recommendation, you have to take a test every week to prove that you don't have the vaccine. So if you have to take a test to prove you don't get the vaccine, that you don't get the virus, then that's coercion. And it turns out that that test is illegal. It is illegal for your government, our government, to mandate that test under the emergency status that this state currently is operating on. I would imagine that your legal department knows that. The vaccine is not, it just came out, the vaccine's not effective after 6 months. It loses its effectiveness. So you want to mandate a vaccine that's not effective after 6 months. Then are you going to mandate boosters? And if it's only a recommendation, why are you threatening their employment with testing? This coercion is illegal. The PCR test has been subject to a Class 1 recall. That was 2 days ago, I believe. And it's been found to be 50 to 90% false positives. So you want to mandate a test that has a very high rate of false positives, and then you're going to make an employee be off work and in quarantine because they have a false positive, and then are you going to pay their salary? I mean, you guys, does anybody besides me see the absurdity in all of this? The science is changing on a daily basis. The WHO just said on Tuesday that asymptomatic people do not spread the virus. They're not contagious. So who pays the employees that test positive? Are you going to test every employee because the vaccines obviously aren't providing protection? We are currently under the threat of medical tyranny in this country and our state, obviously, and our parish. Our rights are being infringed everywhere we turn, federal level, state level, and now local level. No one's following the law. This has got to stop. It seems to me that authoritarianism is the virus that we all ought to be worried about. I don't have much time left, so I'm not even going to get into anything, but I have the state documents with the numbers that say which rule, I don't know the legal term, that proves that it is illegal to mandate and it is illegal to test your employees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next person is Adele Shefferman.
Some of what I'm going to say has been overcome by what the governor has said, mandating masks, but I want to make my statement anyway. For years, I have heard the phrase, "Don't confuse me with facts, my mind's made up." Why have we all heard that? Because that's the human condition. Once we hear something, make up our minds, we really don't want to change. But as new facts are revealed, changes in policy should be considered. Only last week, the CDC revealed that the PCR tests cannot distinguish between seasonal flu and COVID. Did you know that in 2020, cases of seasonal flu were down by 99%? Yet, we have never been universally required to wear a mask for flu. The key word here is required. Anyone who truly wants mask protection can wear an N95. The Delta variant is more transmissible, but it is also a weaker variant. We have heard that it is more contagious, but we do not hear that it is less virulent than COVID Alpha. On August 4th, yesterday, the World Health Organization declared that asymptomatic people are not contagious. Tony Fauci admitted the same thing on September the 9th, 2020. But the myth of asymptomatic transmission persisted. Now that we know the truth, it is unreasonable for asymptomatic people to be required to take a COVID test every 2 weeks. That requirement assumes that people who have no symptoms are guilty of spreading COVID, or even guilty of possibly spreading COVID. It is a policy of guilty until proven innocent. But American law is innocent until proven guilty. In the last 2 weeks, ivermectin has finally come out of the closet. Ivermectin, along with zinc and vitamin D, is an excellent prophylactic and cure for COVID. Now that we are aware of cheap and available cures, I said cures, there's a number of them, the fear of COVID is no longer justified. We citizens appreciate your concern but do not feel that you have to protect us. We have a sheriff and police for that. Beyond that, we want to protect ourselves. We need to see smiles and to enjoy laughter and easy conversation. Do not take that away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next person is Francis Kelly.
Hi, I actually have two comments on two separate subjects. My name is Frances Kelly. I live at 935 Linden Street in Shreveport, and I spoke to you guys, I guess, a couple weeks ago about asylum seekers and immigrants, and I have one here today and just wanted to put a face on the issue. I'm not going to talk about his name or his country specifically because he does have an ongoing legal case, but he was found credible, that he does have a credible fear of returning to his country, a fear of being killed by his government. And so I just wanted to put a face to it. And he did want to tell y'all, he speaks French, so that's why I'm speaking for him. But he did want to tell y'all that in his country, in Africa, right now, for the past several years, it has not been a safe place for various reasons. And he did have to flee for his life. And he does have a family member and neighbor that have been killed under similar circumstances. So he's in his asylum process. He's going to be going to his asylum court at some point in the future, not in Louisiana. He's going to live with his friends tomorrow, actually. And he will have to demonstrate evidence about why he left his country and what specifically happened to him there. But just wanted to, you want to, ¿quiere decirles saludos? Okay, he just wanted to say hello to everyone here and also to say God bless you. Okay, so should I just go ahead and do my second one now? Or?
Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to also speak on Resolution 60, which is about asking for the meeting with the Department of Natural Resources Commissioner. And I just want to say that here in Louisiana, it's the only state where local governments have no say over any kind of regulation of the oil and gas industry, even in terms of zoning, where fracking or drilling can occur. And so it can literally happen next to people's houses. We're the only state where the local government has no say and all of the power is with the state. In addition, every single other industry is subject to either environmental permitting processes that are a public process where citizens can make comments, can request a public hearing. The oil and gas industry, when it comes to drilling, is not. And another industry that, for example, would be causing noise disturbances and other kinds of disturbances, local governments could issue zoning regulations, but for oil and gas drilling, they have an exemption. So I just hope you guys will keep that in mind, that why is this industry have this exemption from public participation in the permitting process and from local zoning regulations. And I think that would be a very good idea for the commission to ask the commissioner of the Department of Natural Resources to come meet with citizens who are being adversely affected, because there shouldn't be an exemption for one industry from the democratic process, which is in fact what's happening. And I just wanted to say, please do pass this regulation. One more thing about that is that taxpayers are bearing the burden of cleanup costs. Several of these companies are going into bankruptcy. Cleanup costs that taxpayers are bearing are into the billions of dollars nationally, and the number of orphan wells in Louisiana is growing every year faster than the state can cap them. So there shouldn't be an exemption that allows these companies to have all of the profit but none of the risk, which is what's currently happening. Thanks.
Thank you. I will again ask everyone to wear their mask in the audience. Thank you. Commissioner Epperson, you're next.
taking the liberty to speak as a citizen, whereas not to prolong the agenda, which this affects me also. And thank you very much, my good neighbor. I told these guys that I was a good person. They didn't believe me. This is a letter from one of my neighbors, and you all probably would know her. She's taking care of her mother since she retired, and it's Shreveport, Louisiana, 7/11/19. Dear Commissioners, Resolution number 60 of 2021. I hope that you and your families are all doing well. I'm Karen Bell, a recent retiree from the Parish of Caddo and a property owner at Deer Creek Estate Subdivision. I'm writing to ask your support and approval of Resolution number 60 of 2021. The public outcry from the citizenry for better communication from oil and gas companies is now becoming even louder and louder, as evidenced most recently by some citizens in the MLK area and now those in the Timberline, Deer Creek subdivision and surrounding areas. The letters of the oil and gas companies provide to all potentially affected property owners do not adequately address some, if not all, hard questions and concerns that are being raised. According to a blog posted by the Wilderness Society, oil and gas drilling is bad for the environment. It has a serious impact on our wildlands and communities, operating around the clock and generating pollution. The health threats from oil and gas drilling are very real. More than 12 million people live within a half mile of most sites and are exposed to pollutants and on a daily basis. There should be a prerequisite for oil and gas drilling companies desiring to drill in close proximity to subdivisions. Those hard questions and concerns can best be addressed ultimately by holding informational meetings whereby the companies and those citizens can engage in those discussions. Resolution number 60 of 2021 puts that prerequisite in place as well as the other much needed measures which are outlined in the proposed resolution. Please seriously consider putting this legislation into place by passing resolution number 60 of 2021, which gives citizens a seat at the table and a voice and buy-in in this practice, especially when these companies are operating literally in our backyards. Thank you for all that you do, along with the administration and all the Caddo Parish Commission employees, to make Caddo Parish a wonderful place to live, work, and recreate. Sincerely, Karen Bell. Thank you.
Mr. President, I would request that the clerk read into the record the letter from Lobby, Loga, and Lamoga.
One moment while I call that up. Okay. That letter starts to the members of the Caddo Parish Commission. It has come to the attention of the oil and natural gas industry, jointly represented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, the Louisiana Mid-Continent Oil and Gas Association, and the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association, collectively referred to herein as the associations, that the Caddo Parish Commission, the Commission, has proposed a resolution urging the Department of Natural Resources, the DNR, to enact a 6-month moratorium on drilling and completion operations within Caddo Parish. The associations ask the Commission to reconsider the moratorium element of the proposed resolution. The associations recognize the important concerns the resolution seeks to address. However, given the critical role Caddo Parish plays in oil and natural gas activity in the state of Louisiana, the moratorium is an extreme step that will undoubtedly cause devastating economic impacts to the association's members and the residents of Caddo Parish. Caddo Parish has had a productive working relationship with the natural gas and oil industry. Since 2014, the natural gas and oil industry has provided more than 5,000 direct jobs to Caddo Parish residents, including more than 500 direct jobs directly related to drilling. One of the greatest benefits of this industry is not just the direct jobs created, but the thousands of indirect jobs created because of oil and natural gas activity. More than 6,000 indirect jobs in Caddo Parish since 2015. These are good paying jobs, paying up to approximately $93 million in wages to Caddo Parish residents. For wages connected to drilling, wages have totaled up to $4 million annually paid since 2013. The indirect jobs created in Caddo Parish because of oil and gas activity generates up to $100 million in wages annually. In addition to paying wages to residents of Caddo Parish, the natural gas and oil industry has paid more than $100 million in ad valorem taxes directly to Caddo Parish. The associations believe any issue involving oil and natural gas operations can and should be solved in a collaborative manner without the need for a moratorium. A drilling moratorium is counterproductive, would impact the whole industry, and create more issues for citizens and the parish than the Commission has considered. As background to the regulation of the industry, the conservation and regulation of natural resources fall under the Commissioner of Conservation's sole jurisdiction on the issuance of permits related to activities of natural gas and oil granted under Title 30 of Louisiana's revised statutes. The rights of lessors are explicitly articulated in Title 31, also referred to as the Mineral Code. Under Louisiana's Mineral Code, the property rights of royalty owners are clearly written, revised over 100 years following extensive judicial review and jurisprudence. A mineral owner's rights are clear, and when the mineral owner decides to execute a lease with a potential operator, this is a contract executed between the interested parties. Further, this contractual right, once granted, vests and is protected by Louisiana's Constitution. Thus, any deprivation or interference of that right is subject to judicial challenge. In addition, the law provides for ample opportunity for public input prior to drilling. This occurs through the administrative process granted by the Office of Conservation's Administrative Division, the issuing division of a permit to drill, and through the unitization hearing. In creating a unit, the operator must post publicly their intent to drill, reach out to surrounding interested parties, and hold a public hearing to the permit is the permit is granted, which affords the public an opportunity to speak up regarding any concerns. During drilling, operators must comply with the rules and regulations set out by the Office of Conservation, and the enforcement of those requirements falls under the jurisdiction of the Regulatory Division of the Office of Conservation.
Mr. Clerk, you passed your 3 minutes.
Okay. The letter in reference is attached under the opposition letters.
All right, thank you. Next item.
Mr. Clerk, I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to have this letter read into the records too.
Okay, that's another one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Y'all can make me be sore-throated by the end of all this. This is a letter to the editor looking down the road on oil and gas development, and it says, a basic tenet of driving, whether on a bicycle or in a car, is to look down the road ahead. Focusing on the pavement right in front of you will likely lead to a crash. The current fixation on the benefits of gas and oil development by local leaders ignores the long-term liabilities. Why would anyone tie their financial security to one stock that has a predictable result of boom and bust? Isn't it a smarter strategy to have a balanced portfolio? But even more significant than focusing on short-term benefits of gas and oil is the ignoring of the long-term impact to our planet. How can we ignore the science which continues to tell us that burning fossil fuel is the main contributor to global warming? What will be gained by searching for voices that dispute reality? What benefits us as a local community cannot be the only measure of what is just and fair for others. We are always a neighborhood. Do we expect that the way out of our current fix will be painless? Instead of castigating those who call attention to the pollution and management of the extraction industry, would we not be better served to bring people and resources together to look down the road? Certainly, the resources are available, including those of the oil and gas industry itself. Reasonable objections to our dependency on fossil fuels is not motivated by a punitive mindset, but by a sense of dangers that loom ahead. We cannot look down the pavement right in front of us and have this end up well. We are a strong community if we remain in dialogue with the larger world and open ourselves to diverse views and engage one another in dialogue rather than resisting the changes that are sure to come. Let's come together and look down the road so we can have a healthy future. And that is from the Carlsbad Current Argus.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
I have a copy. Thank you. Let's see. So the next item
Resolution number 60.
is going to be resolution number 60. And I will read it 1 second. Sorry. Pages got flipped around. Resolution number 60 of 2021 is a resolution urging and requesting the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources, the Office of Conservation, to schedule a meeting with Caddo Parish citizens and otherwise providing with respect thereto from Commissioner Epperson.
So moved. If I can get a second? Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Epperson, seconded by Commissioner Burrell to adopt resolution number 60 of 2021.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a substitute motion.
Well, I've got to get the make of the motion first and then you can do next. Commissioner Epperson, you want to speak to your motion?
No, sir. I'd like to reserve the right to have the last word.
Okay. Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to propose a substitute motion that we forward Resolution 60 to the Department of Natural Resources as written, with the important exception of removing the paragraph and all associated language dealing with moratoriums on drilling.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Atkins and seconded by Commissioner
Hopkins.
Hopkins. I thought I heard it from that side. To remove the paragraph dealing with the moratorium. Is that about right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Atkins, you want to speak to your motion?
Yes, sir. It's become very popular in recent years and months to degrade an industry that's been very important to our community and to our country for over 100 years. The oil and gas industry has been a foundation on which our economy was built here in Caddo Parish. A oil and gas drilling derrick is actually on our parish seal. So I think we need to be careful about how quickly we might want to degrade that important industry. However, all industries have bad actors, and I think we probably have some bad actors out there that are causing some problems with respect to noise and dust and vibration and emissions. And I encourage us to police them effectively. And we have rules in place to police these bad actors. The Department of Natural Resources already has rules in place regarding spacing from buildings and schools and places of worship. They also have rules in place regarding decibel levels. There are rules in place regarding exhaust. There are rules in place regarding vibration. So it's a matter of enforcing those rules properly. And it's a matter of ensuring that our citizens know who to contact to enforce those rules. So we already have everything in place we need. We do not need a moratorium. We just need to enforce the rules that are currently in place. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Chavez.
Call for the question.
Second.
Okay. Motion has been called for the question by Commissioner Chavez, seconded by Commissioner Atkins. There isn't any other commissioners on the board that want to speak first time, so let's vote. We're calling for the question.
Okay, and that does carry with 8 in support and 3 in opposition.
Okay, as a presidential privilege, we did have one other public comment that was stuck between some papers that the clerk just sent to me, and this is relevant to this particular resolution. So at this time, I would ask that Marvin Muhammad will come to the podium for his comments, and then we'll vote.
Mr. President, a call for the question has been called.
Well, that's for the as for us, for discussion, this was basically a public comment which deals with this particular item before we vote on it.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Muhammad has something good to say, so I will yield to Mr. Muhammad.
Thank you, President Johnson, and to the commission as a whole. On July 20th, myself, PTSA, Green Oaks PTSA President Lola Lawson, Cooper Road Committee member Ryan Williams, and also community member Deson Jones, we traveled to Baton Rouge to the July 20th, 2021 commission meeting with the Conservation Department and Natural Resources. And on the agenda that day was a petition by Trinity Operating LLC to actually drill in the MLK community. Our concerns were some of the same concerns that that Caddo Commission Everson mentioned in his resolution in District 12. Here is a map, and this was provided by Trinity. In this 2x1 or 1x2 square mile unit that they're proposing, two things exist there: Green Oaks Performing Arts Academy and Pine Grove. In their presentation, they mentioned how there would be a terminal and a begin on the southern part of the drilling area, which is the southern border, which would be MLK Drive, which is the main thoroughfare that travels through the MLK community. What this map also shows is that on the eastern border, which is the Garden, so from David Rain to the Garden is 1 mile. There's going to be a line directly under Green Oaks Performing Arts Academy. So our children are going to be susceptible to drilling. 7th graders, 8th graders, 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, 12th graders. At that hearing, we did ask for a temporary memorandum to the board. So we asked for that, on that decision particularly, not necessarily an activity in Caddo Parish, but we did ask the board to not make a decision for 6 months, so that the community could better investigate and that Trinity could come back to us and address some of our concerns. In conclusion, another matter came up in our committee meetings. About 10 years ago or so, the Haynesville Shell did drilling. There also been encroachment with I-49. Well, we also know historically that there are still some properties that still belongs to Sewer District Number 5. In 1959, the Cooper Road Community Civil Club.
Time is expired.
Move to extend 2 minutes.
How many minutes? 1, 2? The motion's been made to extend 2 minutes.
Let him close. He's closing.
Okay. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. President. In 1959, the Cooper Road Community Civics Club, they did a feasibility study. And after about 7,500 residents of that area went, this was at the time that the MLK community wasn't a part of the city. They did a feasibility study and found that there was a lot of concerns. Some of that concerns that the MLK area did not have plumbing. So in 1960, there was a resolution, and we created at that time Sewer District Number 5. One of the most profound things that we did at that time was, when I say we, I mean my grandparents. we actually put down 40 miles of pipe, and also the very first chemical treatment plant in this area, the very first. During that time, of course, many other things, many other accomplishments by Sewer District Number 5, of course, was accomplished. But to fast forward, because I know my extension of time is fast moving, in 1978, the city of Shreveport annexed the MLK community into the city of Shreveport. What didn't happen? Well, there wasn't a complete transfer of all the lands and parcels that was under the possession of Sewer District Number 5. So with that being said, there's been monies with the encroachment of I-49. There's monies that needs to be identified, and those parcels of land that the Sewer District Number 5 was under. What did transfer was water management, water treatment, and whatnot. What didn't happen was land. So what we're asking for the commission to look at, and this is something that y'all have inherited, we're asking y'all to look into that. We're going to also make a similar presentation with the city of Shreveport so we can move forward, so that we can see, because even with the new development coming, there's also, we believe, Mr. President and others, that there's also monies that would be rendered to Sewer District Number 5, which we, at that time, as I conclude, we'll want those monies turned over to Sewer District Number 5 and then placed in the hands of the citizens in the area. Thank you.
Time to vote on the substitute motion of resolution number 60, which was to remove the moratorium piece of that.
And let's see, that motion does not carry. It's got 6-5.
So
do we need 7?
The amendment carries. The amendment carries.
Yes, okay, so the motion was for the amendment. So the amendment carries.
then to vote on it.
But
as
now it
amended.
has to be voted on as amended.
That's the vote, right. So next vote is to vote as it is amended. It's just to remove.
So this is
the
a vote to
moratorium.
adopt the resolution as amended.
Yes.
Approve it as amended.
As amended.
We're voting on to amend it, to approve it as it was amended with the moratorium being taken out. This is what you're voting on now.
Everything else stays the
Mr. Burrell? Mr. Cawthorn?
Can we just vote on your motion?
We voted on the amendment first. Now we voted to adopt it as amended.
Oh, okay.
Adopting 60 as amended.
And that failed.
Okay, that does not carry. It's,
Should be a yes.
So now to vote on the
Oh.
original motion.
Should be a yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Right now, I had, initially I had one absent. However, it looks like maybe that person's vote didn't get cast. Commissioner Jackson, for the record, what was your vote?
What we voting on?
62, take off
Okay.
the moratorium
Okay.
and everything else be okay.
Should be a no.
All right.
So now we vote on the original motion.
Okay.
And now,
Original
the original
motion.
motion is what we're
Mr.
voting on
President,
now.
just to be clear, why don't you let the body know what what the original motion is?
Yeah, so if I could restate it, just to be clear for the audience who's following this, the initial motion to amend was adopted. The motion to adopt the resolution as amended did not carry. And so now the motion that, we're back to the original motion, which is the motion to adopt resolution 60 as it
written.
appears on the agenda.
Right.
Point of clarification. If we voted yes to amend, then attorney, I think that's all that's on the floor. And so if we go to vote on that, then we either vote yes or we vote no. And if we vote no, then it gets off the agenda.
No,
No.
no. We go back to the original motion. The amendment passed by a simple majority, so we then voted to adopt it as it was amended. That failed. So
Because that requires more than a simple majority?
that
Yes,
requires 7 votes,
seven
because that would
votes.
be
Requires
passing the ordinance, so that would take 7 votes.
Resolution.
So now, what we're at is a resolution takes 7 votes to pass. So now, that failed, so we go back to the original motion, which was to adopt it as it is written. Vote up, or you vote it down.
Let me, I'm still in my point of privilege. Hold on a second.
Question been called for.
I agree. The question was called, and then we allowed somebody to speak.
That was only because there was public comment, and it was dealing with this particular deal before. It made no sense for the person to be here. Now, all the time, y'all be talking about citizens coming down, wanting to hear them talk. So I let them talk before we voted on it. That was the only reason. If it had been another piece of the agenda, I would have waited until then. But it has to do with this particular one, so I let him speak before we voted on it, because it wouldn't have did him no good to speak after the fact.
I agree we're being polite, but I think we're out of order. I just want to go on the record to say that.
Okay, well, you're out of order for the public comment, or we out of order for what we're doing now?
We're out of comment for the Roberts rules, because the question was called and we proceeded with public comments in between.
Well, as president, I think it rolled, and that's the way we should have did. So now we're to vote on the original motion,
And it requires 7 to advance, sir?
7 to pass, anything less than 7 fails.
What was the original motion?
To adopt it as written.
Okay.
And that's
Okay,
failed.
that does not carry it. Fails with a 6-6 vote, 6 in support, 6 in opposition.
Next item?
So that brings us to Resolution 61, which is a resolution recommending amending Caddo Parish personnel policies to require parish employees to take a COVID-19 vaccination and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Been moved by Commissioner Burrell,
Second.
second by Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Burrell, you want to speak to your motion?
I do, Mr. Chairman. We are under a crisis at this point, and whether we want to recognize it or not, Louisiana went from the 3rd highest per capita in ranking in terms of the Delta virus to within 2 days to the 2nd, and now it's number 1 per capita, only behind Florida and Texas. We are in a hell of a shape right now, if I could use the term. Louisiana in the last 2 weeks had a 700% increase in infections. The hospitals here in Shreveport are nearly full. 2 weeks ago, they had no COVID patients in their COVID section. Now they're pretty well full. Children are being affected more so now than ever before, especially those under 12, but there's an increase in those under 17. Both vaccinated and unvaccinated people, according to CDC, can possibly spread the virus, but those that are vaccinated has a lesser viral load to spread it than those that are unvaccinated. This particular virus, a variant, which is Delta, is so communicable that it spreads like flu and chickenpox. It has a 1-to-5 ratio of infecting people. Among those that are unvaccinated, those new cases that they have, 95 to 97% of those cases are unvaccinated people. 85 to 90% of those that are dying from Delta are unvaccinated. It doesn't take a rocket scientist if you know anything about numbers, that those are high numbers among unvaccinated people. I've heard a conversation today about other drugs. There probably are other drugs that may help. Ivermectin, I think they call it, vitamin D, aspirin, remdesivir is another one. But let me remind you that it was our former president who actually put forth the development of this vaccine under Operation Warp Speed, if that will help you out any, to get the vaccination. At that time, there was two other things that was supposed to be used in order to get rid of COVID, and that was the alpha version. And that was cleaning detergent, as well as shooting ultraviolet light up your posterior, as I remember the comments that were made during that time. But I don't remember today anybody adding those other two solutions to it for whatever reason. But again, we have a serious situation here. The Shreveport Times editorial page, if you read it back on Saturday, I read it once I got back in town. It says that it's time to mandate COVID vaccines for some. And they're saying that it's time out for the carrot. We have to do something to try to encourage them to get it, to get the vaccine. Am I totally sold on any vaccine? No, I'm not. But I do have a mathematical background in statistics, and the statistics tell me that it's better to get it than to die from not having it, and that's what is happening. So again, my fellow colleagues, this is nothing to penalize our Caddo employees because they do an exemplary job. It is to protect them sometimes from themselves, and more so to protect others from them. So with that in mind and that said, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, as I said, well, we moved it already.
All right. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, I haven't changed my stance on Monday, but I just wanted to say that, you know, I understand where you're coming from, but, you know, if we were changing this to all those from a certain period, August 15th or something like that, were required to be vaccinated before they could pre-employment, that would be one thing. But to take and basically hurt our current employees, sending people into early retirement and things like that, I hate that. We have an employee that was vaccinated. He tested positive again. That shot doesn't protect you totally. Our administrator has an executive order in place at this time that says employees must wear a mask. And he has the authority to discipline based on that executive order. So let's don't jump into this and hurt our employees. We're not hurting one department, two departments. Across the board, we're hurting our employees. Once you take a vaccine, you can't take it back. It's not like a mask. You take off when you leave. That vaccine you've got for a while. I'm not a doctor, so I won't get into all those kind of things. I would just ask you to defeat it, and let's go back to the board, and let's come up with something that our employees won't be hurt with, but we all feel like it's a good alternate. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I encourage our employees to wear masks, and I encourage our employees to get vaccinated. but I'm not comfortable requiring them to get vaccinated. I think Commissioner Hopkins has the best feel on the pulse of our employees, since he was the commission clerk for many years, and I'll follow his lead on this matter. I think these are personal issues. We're dealing with personal health, and they should be resolved with personal decisions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'd like to offer up an amendment to Resolution 61 that will add in some requirements, and I'll read those, but it's this sheet right here. It will require the administrator to consider in the policy that they're going to draft is that all unvaccinated employees will wear a mask while they're on duty. It will require all employees to promptly inform Human Resources if they've tested positive for COVID-19, which is already in place. And when they do, those individuals who are unvaccinated shall be required to take unpaid leave to be able to quarantine due to their illness. And all employees will receive, parish employees will receive education and training by local public health officials. So I don't know if y'all have had an opportunity to do that, but I'll speak to it if I can get a second. What a motion.
I'll second. It's been moved by Commissioner Jackson to add an amendment A, B, and C to resolution number 61, and seconded by Commissioner Chavez.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson, you speak to you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So these amendments that I offer up, I know we talked about giving options, giving individuals options on Monday to get the vaccine in lieu of getting the vaccine. But what I want the public to understand, and I want the commission body to understand, is all this resolution is doing, Madam Attorney, all this resolution is doing is tasking administration with coming up with a policy. Is that how you understand this to be?
That's correct.
So if this resolution passes today, nobody's going to be fired if they don't take the vaccine tomorrow. That's correct. That how you understand it?
That's correct.
Okay. So I think there's some hysteria that has been created around this, and I appreciate you for clearing that up for me. There's been a lot of hysteria as if this resolution passes, people are going to be forced to take the vaccine next week or week after or whatever. All this resolution does is task our administrator to come up with a policy and to take these items into consideration, to come up with a plan to implement a vaccine policy. And I hear it. I hear people saying that people don't want to take it, but I've gotten calls from parish employees that have been on the job for 20 plus years as well. They have comorbidities, they have coexisting illnesses, and they are scared for their lives. And so I'm trying to make sure that we don't lose focus of what we're simply here to ask today. All we're asking our parish administrator to do is come back to this body within one work session with a set of recommendations and to take these recommendations into consideration. They can add to, they can take away, but at the end of the day, once he submits his recommendation, it's up to the body to say, we want to do all of this, we want to do none of this, or we want to do some of this. But today, all we're asking administration to do is to develop a policy. That is it. And this provides alternatives. So nobody can say they're being forced to get vaccinated or they're being forced to take a test. I believe we had the add-in that requires that all employees would kind of go through routine testing, whether they were vaccinated or unvaccinated. We've got to find a way to get our hands around this pandemic because we still have to operate as government, so we can't shut departments down when outbreaks happen and quarantine everybody. And the reality is, it starts with education. And we need to educate, make sure employees get factual information from public health experts, local public health experts. It starts with education. And so a 1 hour, just like, do we do sexual harassment training here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do we do ethics training here? So similar to sexual harassment training, similar to ethics training, we're saying, Mr. Administrator, will you please consider in your policy having a I got an email today. Who sent the email about the flu shot? So in Caddo Parish, we offer flu shots free of charge, right? Or somebody picks it up to employees. So this is not forcing anybody to do anything for which they don't want to do, but it is looking after all of our employees, because there are two sides to the story, and we have to be willing to listen to all sides. And I promise you, there are employees that are on our staff that are afraid. They're afraid of their life. And so I hope administration will get with the employee council if this passes, get their input. What can they live with? What can't they live with? You know, and those kind of things. But I would hope that we would do what we need to do. Shreveport was front page of Good Morning America this morning, talking about this pandemic. We have to get our arms around this. I don't think this virus is ever going to go anywhere, but we know that we can take steps to mitigate what is going on. We have to mitigate our risks. The school board has already instituted a policy. School board already instituted a policy that says educators that don't get the vaccine will have to take unpaid time off. That passed the school board. Corporate America is doing that. Corporate America is saying if you have to quarantine and you're unvaccinated, you will take unpaid time off. So we've got to do something. And I think, just sitting on our hands saying, liberty this, liberty that, and being scared by what people are saying, that's not what we are elected to do. We're elected to lead.
Time has expired.
I'll wrap up with this. We're elected to lead, and lead with a purpose and with a mission. And so these are common sense amendments that add to this for administration to consider in their policy and bring back to us. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Teleferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. We can strongly encourage our employees or our business owners or our citizens to wear masks. Get vaccinated, do both, stay at home. Whatever action flavor is that of the day. But in a time when the narrative changes about the effectiveness of a mask, the vaccine, the transmission of the virus, etc., my role in government, our role in government, in my opinion, with regard to COVID, is to provide as much information as possible for you to make an informed decision. And the accessibility to preventative measures, if that is your choice. Citizens elect us to do the business of the parish for the benefit and quality of life, not to make decisions for their health or regarding their health. It remains a person's choice as a citizen of this country. One, I'm not willing as a representative of the people to remove or compromise. I appreciate Commissioner Jackson's amendments. I do have an issue with, it says all vaccinated or unvaccinated employees. You might as well just say all employees need to wear a mask. I don't care if you're vaccinated or not. I think that's obviously where we're going now anyway. And I don't feel comfortable penalizing any employee who exercises their right to refuse to be injected with an experimental drug or a vaccine to be placed on administrative leave. Are we penalizing our employees for getting COVID or not getting the vaccine? If I get the vaccine and I get COVID, am I still going to be forced to go on administrative leave without pay? Getting the disease is getting the disease. I shouldn't be punished one way or the other. Suggesting that they have committed a wrongdoing, I think is irresponsible. I don't believe we have the legal right to actually ask somebody, to force somebody, to coerce somebody, to mandate somebody take an experimental vaccine. And I know that there's legal ways that each one of us, if we choose not to do the vaccine, can make that case. So I appreciate Commissioner Jackson's amendments. There's a few things obviously that I would like to change, but again, I believe that as the citizens' representatives, I'm here to represent the people and not to compromise their rights. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Chavez.
Got Burrell in front of me.
He spoke first already.
Oh, okay. Obviously, we all know parliamentary procedure, but some of the audience may not. I applaud Commissioner Jackson for at least bringing some work to the floor. However, I didn't have time to read it, but I wanted to second it. You must second something so that we can address it. And I know there's a lot of people that are wanting to make amendments, that are wanting to send this to committee. So I wanted to bring this up so that we could all talk about it, so that we could review it. A lot of people are concerned about this, and likely they should be. So my question, I guess, would be the author of this amendment. Would this be in lieu of the general procedures on Commissioner Burrell's, or just in addition to?
In lieu of. So
Okay.
it gives options.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Thank you, President. I'm done.
Commissioner Carthel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to ask this to legal. At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, from a legal perspective, what's the possibility of us being able to implement a mandatory vaccination?
Commissioner, right now, we're in a posture where the Department of Justice has issued an opinion stating that mandatory vaccines are permissible for the vaccines as they are now, which are authorized for emergency use. We have several other cities that are issuing mandates. Now, I think we'd be naive to think that if we did it, it wouldn't be challenged.
Correct.
But there is a legal basis for doing it. We have been told that there is a statute that says in Louisiana you can't abridge the right of a person to reject treatment. That is not applicable here, because that statute is in the body of work that talks about rejecting treatment or getting medical consent from medical providers. It does not address what is in the employment arena or educational arena, because as we all know, most of us, or many of us, grew up in a time where we had to be vaccinated to attend public school. So obviously we've been dealing with vaccine mandates for a number of years, and they're not wholesale illegal anywhere. But will it be challenged? Absolutely it will. Okay. But as of right now, we don't have any reason to think that they won't be upheld.
Point of clarification, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Point of clarification. If we have not adopted anything to impose anything, what is there to challenge at this particular time? Because if this passes, I don't see there would be anything to challenge. Is that correct?
Well, Commissioner, if this passes, there's not a policy in place. We
Right.
won't get to the point until you all actually come back and vote and enact the policy.
Right.
There's nothing to challenge.
And that's the point that's the clarification I was trying to get is, when this passes, there's still nothing to challenge, which is why I don't understand the big fuss is all we're asking the administration to do is develop something that they think can pass.
So essentially what you're asking the administration to do is the same thing that you offered in the pandemic committee meeting, urging, as it relates to the public, urging and encouraging people to take the vaccine, education approach to that, et cetera. And so you're essentially offering the same thing for the employees, urging and encouraging people to take the vaccine. But you're not suggesting that it be mandated.
Essentially, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Lazarus.
If we had a perfect medicine with no defects whatsoever in it, it would still be unethical to force anyone to take it. I come across this quote from 186 years ago. The greatest tyrannies are always perpetuated in the name of the noblest causes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Burrell.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know where all this convolution has come from. My resolution, unless I've misread it and I didn't understand what the attorney said when we went through and amended the resolution from what it originally was. There is no mandate in this resolution, or may I ask the attorney again, because that's my understanding. I'm not mandating a vaccine. What I'm saying is, if they choose not to vaccinate, that's an option out. They can test. Now, am I incorrect on that?
No, that is what the resolution the resolution says that you all forwarded from Monday to today.
Right.
For your consideration to ask the administrator to present to you.
Well, I can appreciate this amendment coming from Commissioner Jackson. I wish we would have discussed it so I could understand it and I wouldn't be here looking stupid. But I'm not seeing the difference between what I have. Unlike Commissioner Hopkins, who says that people are going to be fired based upon my resolution, there's nothing in there that says that. They say that will be dealt with through the Human Resource Department. Is that correct, or is that not legal?
It is correct. It says that they may be subject to discipline.
Right.
And as I explained Monday, the parish has a progressive discipline policy.
But they would be educated on this, is what I understood, through the HR department. Is that not correct? Did I hear that too? That it's not, you're not firing anybody initially. You're actually going through and explaining to them what our policy is.
Yeah, if this policy came back to the commission and was passed, then it will be the responsibility of the HR department to educate on the policy, to inform and educate what the policy is.
Okay, other than the mask in here, in which I don't have that in my resolution, because mask was such a lightning rod. I did not even put that in there. It's only been recent that the governor has come out with his, I guess you can call it mandate. I assume that we would follow, are supposed to follow.
Yes, sir.
That the mask would even be included in this. So I guess my point is, I'm not sure how this differ from our original resolution, but if it clarifies it more, then I don't have a problem with it. I just want something done. And in addition to that, people are not understanding that this thing not only affects the person who wind up getting it if they're unvaccinated, you can transfer it to others who has no right in this. It could be your children. It could be other people in the public. And I don't think that we are considering their rights whenever we only assume that the parish employee is the one that's being affected. That is not the case. That wasn't the reason why this was written. It was more so for the people who they would spread it to, who has no control over what that parish person does. That was my position all along. So all of this other convoluted stuff that's being thrown into this, that's not part of my original resolution or this resolution here. And I'm hoping that the commission understands that. But like I said, I'm fine with this if it clarifies, if it goes further than what my resolution does, because we get into the mask part, and which is not a part of my original resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm gonna call for the question.
That's fine.
On the amendment.
On everything, on the amendment and the discussion of.
Well, I have a point of clarity. I got a point of clarification.
What's that? You gotta make a point now.
Yeah, right. Well, my point of clarification is that I don't want people to think, what I heard on Monday was there were no alternatives. I heard a lot of folks say we didn't have any alternatives, and so basically this provides some additional alternatives for the administration to consider. That's all this does. So it does add some things that were not originally there. And so it provides alternatives for someone who does not want to vaccinate. That's all.
Alternatives. That was his point, right? Okay. So, calling for the question. On the amendment and on the original motion.
And that carries with 8 in support and 4 in opposition.
So now we'll vote on accepting the amendment. I can't hear you.
Can you read it?
Oh, the amendment is the sheet. So we're voting to.
Mr. Chair, I want clarification. Can I address the author of the legislation?
No, we just passed the call for the question.
All right.
He can't making a point.
So we're voting on the amendment to
Yeah,
accept the
just for
amendment.
clarification, the vote right now is to amend the resolution, and the language that I believe Commissioner Jackson passed out to you should be in front of you.
Well, to
That's what
accept
we're
the
currently
first.
voting on.
Right. You can't ask no question. We already called for the question.
Oh, we already voting? Okay.
So that fails.
Yeah, that motion fails.
All right, so now we'll vote on the original motion.
And that motion fails as well.
Mine-
5 to 6.
Mine said no, not
Okay, I'm sorry, so that vote actually should be 5 to 7.
Okay.
There's a abstention incorrectly shown.
Yeah, I'm not trying to abstain.
It's actually a no vote, okay. All right, and that doesn't change the outcome.
Mr. President.
So we move
Yes.
back to the
Mr.
regular
President.
page
Next item.
on the
No, I'm in
agenda
the
at
queue.
this point, which would be visitors.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I make a motion to reconsider this item and send it to the
We can do it
pandemic.
under old business.
We gotta do it under old bit, we gotta do reconsideration under old
We
bit.
can do it under old business.
Okay.
Because the original motion was to go out of order to take these 2 resolutions. We've done those 2
So I
now,
need to
so
wait.
any
Okay.
additional motions would need to be considered later in the agenda.
Okay.
So that brings us back to visitors, where we do have a visitor with us today. Our visitor today is
Todd.
Mr. Justin Dixon with the North Louisiana Economic
Todd.
Partnership.
Todd, did you want to do your other piece now or later?
No, because I don't see him in the
Okay.
Yeah, he's here.
So, make a motion to go back into our regular order of the agenda. Then moved by the chair, second by Stormy Gage Watts, and it passes by acclamation. Now we add visitors. Mr. Dixon, come on up.
Mr. Dixon?
Thank you very much. Good to be here. I was originally coming to introduce myself, but I've jotted down about 37 questions I'd like to. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Real quick, I've seen all of you. I have met most of you and worked with a lot of you on projects. Real quickly, I'm Justin Dixon. I'm the new president and CEO of North Louisiana Economic Partnership, a 14 parish economic development group stretching across North Louisiana. I come from the private sector. I've been doing industrial development for a real estate trust for the past 9 years. It was a great gig, and the reason I left that is because I think we can be very successful with economic development across North Louisiana. We have everything it takes. We have the people, we have the university to train the people, we have the infrastructure, and we have the support. And I would not have left what I left if I didn't think that we could be successful here. I will tell you that I am worked with many of you on here on projects, working with many of you on current projects. And Dr. Wilson and Eric are two of the finest that I've ever worked with. They wholeheartedly support new business while keeping an eye on the taxpayers' money. And I appreciate that very much. I really do. As well as the commissioners that I've worked with. I've yet to see any opposition. So having said that, I appreciate you having me here. I'm glad to be here. I'm open for any comments, questions, or anything else. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
We've got some commissioners on the board.
We've got some commissioners on the board that would like to talk to you, ask you a question or make a statement. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. Justin, thanks for coming down.
Absolutely.
I know I've had the pleasure of meeting Justin a couple times, and I can vouch for the one thing that I think is the coolest about Justin that I've seen so far is he's a cheerleader for Shreveport and Caddo Parish. I have an old friend, he's a mentor to me, and he always tells me, at least be on your own team. And we have so many people that talk negative about Shreveport that meeting this guy that's not even from Shreveport and hear him, the first day I met him, talk about how great this city is and how much potential we had. I said, man, this is the right guy for that job. So I'm super excited that you're on board. Anything that we can do around this horseshoe to help you out, we wish you much success because obviously that equates to us getting much success. So thanks for coming on board and picking Shreveport to work. Thank you, Justin.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Carthon.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon, for coming down. You know, the undertaking, the job that you have with NLEP, it can be challenging. In this local community, city and parish, there's a lot of duplicating of quote-unquote economic development efforts where sometimes we see each other kind of stumbling over one another. As a 30,000-foot perspective and also a 5-foot perspective, what do you propose in terms of addressing that challenge and making economic development kind of a win-win for the major engines of this community that are involved or that are of consideration?
Absolutely. You know, first of all, we're competing against other cities like ours, Jackson, Mississippi, where I came from, Little Rock, Montgomery. They don't have any advantages over us. You know, the advantage they had were sites were in place and we're ready. And that's why I'm here. I've done industrial development for the past 9 years. I know what a good site looks like. And so I firmly believe if we work together to identify those sites, prepare those sites, we will be successful. You know, you talk about the multiple entities. They're like churches, right? We all get along so well, let's go make another church.
Right.
When I first took this, I was told, you know, there's a conflict between you and the port. You being NLEP, it's a conflict between you and BRF, conflict between you and everybody. I will tell you that we have put procedures in place where NLEP and the port, Caddo Bossier Port, are working together on projects. That hadn't happened in a while. We meet together, we fill out RFPs together, we work together. There's agreement between Eric England at the port and myself that our teams will work together on projects so we can put our best foot forward. Same thing's happening at BRF. I think a lot of it's communication, but half of it is Cawthorn's just going and doing it, not worrying about who gets the credit. And I'm a firm believer of that. Let's recruit the jobs and investment here. We'll give the credit to you guys, and let's just do it. And that's what it's going to take. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Commissioner Jackson.
I think that's for the last.
All right, Commissioner Carthon, Jackson, everybody is spoke. So, seeing no one else, thank you, Mr. Dixon, for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate the introduction, the formal introduction, and hope to see you soon.
Absolutely. I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Glad to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Glad to be here. Next item.
The next item is going to be to adopt regular session minutes.
So
you should
moved.
have attached.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Carthon, seconded by Commissioner Lazarus to adopt the regular session meeting minutes from July 22nd, 2021. Seeing no one on the board, let's vote.
All right, and those minutes passed with 10 in support and 2 absent. That brings us to special resolutions. We have a few special resolutions today. The first one on the agenda, and I did receive some word that Mr. French may be running late.
He's here
today, but he may be
He's
here
here.
by now. But the first item is a special resolution of recognition from Mr. Marco French. Would you like me to go ahead?
Well, Commissioner Telfair, would you make the motion?
Move to recognize Mr. French.
And moved by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Telfair to approve and adopt a special resolution for Marco French. And we can vote on it, and then you can go down and start reading. Is it by acclamation?
Yeah.
It's by acclamation.
Sure.
So,
you want to come? He's in your district.
Mr. Queensboro Elementary School. Come on up, Mr. French. Would everyone please stand?
While Mr. French makes his way up, I'll read the resolution. It reads, Resolution of Recognition, Queensboro Elementary School Principal Marco French. Whereas the Caddo Parish Commission desires to acknowledge and commend individuals whose lives and efforts are devoted to the youth of Caddo Parish and who strive to make a difference in the community by making a difference in the lives of the young people who come into their charge. And whereas such an individual is Mr. Marco French, principal at Queensboro Elementary School in Shreveport, who began his experience in Caddo Parish Public School System in 2003 as a substitute teacher at Atkins Elementary and pursued education as a profession by 2010. By 2017, he was named principal of Queensboro Elementary School, where he guided the school from being on the cusp of a state takeover due to low performance scores back to its position as a centerpiece for the community where students can be proud of their accomplishments, which in addition to being removed from the state's academically failing list, included receiving recognition as Louisiana's outstanding school, ranking #1 for the top 10 high-performing schools for third grade literacy progress and growth in 2019, and being recognized for having the highest growth in the district with a 93.7% progress index and a school performance score increase of 8 points. And whereas Principal French was able to accomplish these milestones by being an exceptional role model and leader, while believing in the students, accepting no excuses, and exhibiting a style of service leadership rooted in personal experience, perseverance, diligence, the importance of relationship building, and relatability. And it is this leadership that has resulted in French earning the prestigious title of the Louisiana Department of Education's 2022 State Principal of the Year. And whereas Mr. French received his Bachelor of Science in Education from Grambling State University and earned his Master of Science in Educational Leadership from Arkansas State University, and put his knowledge to work for the students of Caddo Parish. Now therefore be it resolved by the Caddo Parish Commission that it does hereby extend its heartiest expressions of commendation and appreciation to Mr. Marco French for his untiring efforts to improve Queensboro Elementary School on behalf of Queensboro Elementary School, and for the worthy example he sets for his students to emulate, and wishing him much continued success. And that is signed Commissioners Lyndon Johnson, Commissioner Roy Burrell, and Commissioner Jim Talaferro.
you may be seated.
Fellow members of the commission, I tell you, this is a great honor for me. This is the first time that I've met Principal French. But when I heard about his accomplishments, I said this guy needs to get recognized because this is one of those professions that is truly sometimes thankless. But we want to make sure that you knew how much we appreciate your choice in this profession, which often goes unnoticed. So we thoroughly appreciate and applaud you for all your accomplishments. And as we've already discussed, that being the role model and leader and a mentor, I believe that this is one of the most important things that anyone can do. So we appreciate you taking an active role in the future of our children, and best success in the future.
Thank you.
So I'd like to say a few words.
Yes, no problem.
Sure, no problem. Okay.
To the president and all those sitting in what we call the horseshoe in Caddo, I thank you all for this honor.
and for this recognition. I tell everyone this is not just me. I can't do it. I have a vision, but I can't do it without the people behind me. That is my staff, the students, and the Queensboro community. But as a whole, I thank Shreveport for just trusting in Queensboro. You all continue to pray for us. Keep us in your prayers that we continue to grow and be a beacon of light in Queensboro and Shreveport, Louisiana. Sweet. Thank you so much.
Mr. French, you got some more commissioners that want to say something. Commissioner Carter.
Hello, Mr. French. How you doing today?
All right, how are you?
Is Queensboro Elementary still located on Hearn?
It is.
Okay. All right. Hey, I just want to publicly congratulate you for what it is you have done at Queensboro. And as we look at academics and education across this nation, and for you to be a diamond in the rough to make those type of improvements, you definitely should be applauded. And we'll admonish you to continue to do what you're already doing. And if you got some fellow principals around the city that will reach out to you, I think they would do well by some of your coaching and some of the best practices that you implement at Queensboro. Again, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I want to congratulate you. I've worked with Queensboro Neighborhood Association for many years, whether it was on the city council, the state rep, and then now on the commission. So I know that school pretty well, and I've known the leadership that's been in there, and it's been pretty good leadership, and you just stay exceptional to that leadership that's in that area. So I'm looking for you to do great things.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Stormy Gage Watt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Congratulations.
Thank you,
I am super proud of you.
Thank you.
I'll speak on her behalf. She's so proud of you and congratulations.
Yeah. I also want to say congratulations. That's a major task to be principal of the year. And at the school in which a lot of people basically write off. I walked them halls when I was in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades. So I understand what you go through day in and day out. And just keep up the good work and keep making that a beacon in the Queensboro community.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, that's it.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item.
The next item is going to be a special resolution honoring Irene Kamala Lacey. Miss Lacey was here, but it appears that she may have left.
We must have stayed too long.
I'd like to englobo and adopt special resolution honoring Miss Irene Lacey, Mr. Robert Handy, and a resolution of remembrance for Miss Cynthia Hightower Jenkins.
Second.
Moved by the chair, second by Commissioner Stormy Watts to englobo and adopt those 3 resolutions. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I definitely wanted Ms. Kamala to be here. She's a very exceptional lady. Undoubtedly, we must have ran too long. She's not used to these long meetings. So hopefully we'll hold it, and I ask her to come back down. If not, I'll just take it to her.
We'll certainly reach back out to her and schedule a time that she can come to another meeting.
Thank you.
Commissioner Epperson.
Mr. Chairman, I have a previous engagement for the weekend, so if someone from the commission, I'm going. You going? Okay, but you can clear that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's vote.
That motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to, I'm sorry, this agenda has communiques and committee reports, but we have traditionally been moving those, I believe, to the end of the agenda the last few weeks. So that may have just accidentally not been moved to the later portion. Would you like to proceed as posted, or?
No, we'll catch them at the end.
Okay. So that'll bring us to public hearing on zoning ordinances and cases. The first item is going to be a public hearing for ordinance number 6084 of 2021. And that's in regards to zoning case number 21-14-P, an ordinance to amend volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located.
Mr. Clerk, you skipped one. 6080 of 2021.
No, 6080 should refresh your agenda. it should not have, 6080 should be in the next public hearings on ordinances.
I did refresh.
Is that not how yours shows?
Yeah. Yeah, if you refresh it, it'll come
Yeah,
up.
it does.
Yeah, I think it just loaded incorrectly at one point.
Okay.
So you should be able to refresh it. It should be correct.
All right.
So that is, I'm sorry, I'll start back. 11.1 is the public hearing for ordinance number 6084 of 2024 in relation to zoning case 21-14-P, an ordinance to amend volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code by amending the zoning of property located north of Overton Brooks Road, approximately 1,650 feet west of Norris Ferry Road, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agricultural District to RE Residential Estate District, and that's in District 9.
Go ahead and read the second.
Proceed with the next item, and you can
Yes.
open. Okay. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6085 of 2021 in regards to zoning case 21-22-P. It's an ordinance to amend volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the east side of Mansfield Road, approximately 650 feet south of Stagecoach Road, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from I-2 Heavy Industrial District to C2 Corridor Commercial District, and that's in District 11.
Public hearing is now open on zoning ordinances, 6084 of 2021 and 6085 of 2021. Anyone here that want to speak in favor or in opposition of either one of these zoning ordinances? Seeing no one, public hearing is now closed on zoning ordinances 6084 of 2021 and 6085 of 2021.
Okay, and that brings us to public hearings on ordinances, where the first item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6080 of 2021. That's an ordinance adopting the budget of estimated expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Fund and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. There is a note, this one was postponed. There was also several different versions of this, and the version that was advertised is correct. The title is correct. But the attachment on your public hearing today is an old version. And the attachment on your actual version for final passage is the correct version. So I just wanted to point that out in the event that there is any confusion. Would you like me to proceed with reading the rest of them?
Yes.
Okay. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6086 of 2021, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund to provide an appropriation of $20,000 for Louisiana urban gardening and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6087 of 2021, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Health Tax Fund to appropriate Petco Love grant proceeds in the amount of $10,000 and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item, a public hearing for ordinance number 6088 of 2021, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund for the year 2021 to provide an appropriation for the Soul Food Festival and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6089 of 2021, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund for the year 2021 to provide an appropriation for the Multicultural Center of the South and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6090 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Fund for the year 2021 to provide an appropriation for a COVID-19 vaccination campaign and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6092 of 2021, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund for the year 2021 to provide an appropriation for the Shady Grove Missionary Baptist Church tutoring program and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6094 of 2021, an ordinance to close and abandon a portion of the dedication for Lee Boulevard and Linwood Park Home Sites, Unit Number 4, in the Parish of Caddo, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6095 of 2021, an ordinance to close and abandon a portion of the dedication for an unnamed road near the intersection of Roy Road and Shepherd Road in the parish of Caddo, and otherwise providing with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6097 of 2021, an ordinance amending ordinance number 6073 of 2021, setting the general purpose and special purpose millages and levying and imposing taxes and assessments for 2021 on properties subject to taxation in the parish of Caddo to correct the amounts set for the public health facilities millage and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The final item for public hearing today is a public hearing for ordinance number 6098 of 2021, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation of $50,000 for a wastewater program for COVID-19 and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Public hearing is now open on ordinances 6080, 6086, 6087, 6088, 6089, 6090, 6092, 6094, 6095, 6097, 6098 of 2021. If anyone wants to speak in favor or against any of those, they can come up now. Seeing no one, public hearing is now closed on those ordinances.
Okay, and that brings us to zoning ordinances for final passage, where the first item is ordinance number 6084 of 2021. So in regards to zoning case number 21-14-P, an ordinance to amend volume 2, an ordinance to amend volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located north of Overton Brooks Road, approximately 1,600 feet west of Norris Ferry Road, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agricultural District to RE Residential Estate District.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Atkins, seconded by Commissioner Lazarus to approve ordinance number
6084.
6084 of 2021. Commissioner Talaferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to make an amendment on ordinance 6080.
We're on 6084 right now.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, that was my mistake.
Okay.
We're good.
Commissioner Burrell, same thing?
What?
You want to speak on this particular ordinance or another?
No, we're on 6084, right?
6084.
Four.
All right. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to make one comment about this ordinance. I spend a lot of time in District 9. I grew up in District 9, and I like it a lot. I also admire and respect the commissioner from District 9. And we've had discussions that relate to the population and migration patterns in Caddo Parish before in relation to our water systems. And it occurs to me that we all sort of know that our population isn't growing in Caddo Parish, so that when we make more residential areas in places where they aren't residential now, a safe assumption is that people are moving from one part of Caddo Parish to another. In many cases, they're moving from inside the city of Shreveport, for instance, in District 4, and that is a change in our city that isn't necessarily bad, isn't necessarily good, but it is something that we should try to think about for the long term and make some plans for over the long term, because it's possible that without a plan we can eventually empty out our city into new subdivisions and not be able to take care of the interior. That happens a lot in my neighborhood now. There's a lot of houses that don't have occupants. There's a lot of houses that need to be torn down eventually. We have vacant lots that are hard to maintain, and eventually they grow back into forest. And that's just something that I think it would be helpful for the MPC to consider, since they're the planning commission. And that's all I wanted to point out. Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson.
I withdraw mine.
Commissioner Atkins.
I withdraw it. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to comment on Commissioner Young's observations, of course, this has gone through the MPC and has been considered as part of the master plan. So it's certainly been given consideration. So thank you, Mr. President. That's all I have to say.
Seeing no one else on the board, let's vote.
And that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. That brings us to the next item, which is ordinance number 6085 of 2021. It's in regards to zoning case 21-22-P. An ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the east side of Mansfield Road, approximately 650 feet south of Stagecoach Road, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from I-2 Heavy Industrial District to C2 Corridor Commercial District. And that's in District 11.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Lazarus, seconded by Commissioner Hopkins to adopt ordinance number 6085 of 2021. Commissioner Lazarus, you want to speak to your motion?
No, sir.
Seeing no one, let's vote.
All right, and that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to ordinances for final passage, where the first item is ordinance number 6080 of 2021, an ordinance adopting the budget of estimated expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Fund and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. Please keep in mind this is the item where I mentioned that an incorrect version of the ordinance is attached. The correct version is attached here. The incorrect version was attached earlier on the public hearing. So this is the correct version should you need to review.
Move to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Hopkins, seconded by Commissioner Carthon to adopt ordinance number 6080 of 2021. I'd like to make an amendment to that particular motion. To amend ordinance number 6080 to include the projects recommended by the American Rescue Plan Committee at 50% of the recommended amount, except for the DA's office, which would be at 100% of the recommended amount. Additionally, the remaining balances will be these projects, including any unspent money at the end of 2021, and should be included in the 2022 budget and any future budget as necessary.
That was a lot.
That's a lot.
It's been moved by the chair and seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts, and I'll go back through it again. So, what I was doing was amending the ordinance to include the projects that were recommended by the American Rescue Plan Committee. But it would be at 50% instead of 100% for 2021. The DA's office would be at 100% because it's one of the bodies that we basically have to fund. Then those remaining balances will roll over to 2022 and will be included in any future budgets from that point after until the money is spent.
So, point of information, so.
You're just spreading
You're
it.
just saying we're gonna pay out 50% of what we've approved.
Right.
We're gonna hold the other for 2022, but they will get their money.
They will be in the budget for 2022.
Congress doesn't take it.
Yeah.
What you say?
Congress doesn't use it for the infrastructure fund.
What do you say? I can't.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay.
I get what you.
So,
They talking about
Commissioner
using
Burrell.
money.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to amend the ordinance to include another project because some of us were not really on the voting members of the committee, to include $30,000 for the 2020 economic recovery due to COVID for the ICE BIS camp program.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Burrell and seconded by Commissioner Chavez to add to the project $30,000 for ICE. Commissioner Burrell, you want to speak to that motion?
No, I've already discussed it.
All right. Commissioner Talaferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to make a substitution motion to 6080 on behalf of the Downtown Development
Can't make a
Authority.
substitute.
I see Ms.
Gotta make
Liz
an
Swain
amendment.
is,
Is it a-
go ahead.
Is it an amendment? Is it an amendment?
Yes, what I said, a substitute motion.
Yeah,
Oh,
substitute
amendment, I'm
motion.
sorry, yeah. Amendment. The Downtown Development Authority didn't make the deadline, so I had an application sent to the director, Liz Swain, and she filled it out, sent it back. I think I forwarded it to each one of you, so you'd have it in front of you. It's to replace the revenue from the ARF in the amount of $300,000. And I think if you look at her application, she states exactly what the downtown development does, how they suffered a tremendous loss during COVID, and are seeking reimbursement from the American Rescue Plan.
Okay. Let's see, Commissioner Jackson.
Come back to me. I'll get back in because I got some issues.
All right, Commissioner Shabby.
There's a lot. I wasn't on that committee, so the first, your motion, I was going to ask the other committee members that were, if they're okay with that. But then, of course, we've gotten two more substitute or subsequent motions or amendments. I almost feel like it may be advantageous for us to go back into that committee and everyone on this body sit in that committee to hash out what goes where and then bring it back to the full body. Is that something that would put a time restraint on it needs to be done today?
Well, the time restraint is they have to submit a strategic plan to the Department of Treasury by the 31st of August. So we need to vote on it between now and the end of August. And so the longer you push it down, the tighter the window is for them to do their plan and put it together.
I'm cool coming to work tomorrow, guys. Yeah.
Now, we've had 3 to 4 meetings.
Right. Well, no.
What
We haven't brought these new ones though. Like all 3 new ones just came up and.
No, 2.
I got some new ones.
Well, there's some more coming down the pipe. I see it. I see a bunch. So that's just my idea from now. It's going to get.
That's why I asked everybody to have all theirs in at a certain time. We can go through them, hash them out, and never fail.
I'll yield my time back.
So I guarantee you, if we meet again, we'll have some more come up on the floor at the next time. So we have to vote on adding these in anyway, so it doesn't matter. So you get a chance, you ask all the questions now, so that we can try to get this done. You on the board again?
I thought I said John on.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I'd like to add an amendment. I've got a 2-part amendment that would remove from the Lakeside Neighborhood Association, would remove repairs to property damage due to storms, and they would just only be for, so not changing their funding amount, but just removing their scope. So removing that in their scope.
So what's the scope gonna be?
Huh?
What is the scope?
So just the area beautification projects.
Okay.
So they'll, with that amount, they won't be able to do a whole lot of repairs, and that's gonna be covered elsewhere. But just the beautifications, and then to add an additional $600,000 for the COVID-19 vaccination coordination. Second on that motion.
Committee? Oh, second.
Yes, those are my 2.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Carthon, to remove verbiage for the scope of Lakeside Neighborhood Association to make it only for beautification, and then to add an additional $600,000 to vaccinations.
Right, that's 6 total.
6 total. So you already was on for 200,000, I thought.
That would be included.
For additional 400,000.
But we hadn't approved that one yet. We hadn't approved it yet. So I'm just gonna, I'm trying to cover it all here, and then I would just pull that one off.
So you pull the 200
Yeah, I would
off,
just pull that one
just
off.
have the 600. Okay.
Right.
So for the vaccinations, campaign, awareness, all that, $600,000 total. So that will bring our $930,000 additional. So what we can do is vote on each amendment.
I have to speak to my amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just,
I'm
you know.
trying to get the game.
Yeah,
for
I got
everybody
you.
they
So,
know.
for the First Amendment that I have about Lakeside is that with that amount of money, we need to make sure that their focus is very narrow in scope. I believe we can help work with them in some different areas for the property repairs, in some other areas using some other sources, non-parish sources of dollars. And so, doing the sort of beautification neighborhood stuff, I think $50,000 is probably the right amount for that. And then for the COVID-19 pandemic, vaccine and pandemic coordination, you know, we see that there are going to be flare-ups. There are eventually going to be seasonal flare-ups. And so having some dollars set aside. What I understand is that, you know, we can't depend on Congress to come back with more relief dollars. They're going to basically say, we sent you those relief dollars. We sent you preparedness dollars. We sent you response dollars with the American Rescue Plan. You need to use that. And so this is basically adding, giving us an option to be prepared. If we need to do masking, if we need to do, you know, just kind of vaccine coordination and working at the grassroots level, as I said on Monday. And that's split over a 2-year period. So again, that if this passes, that ordinance that we move forward on Monday would basically be withdrawn. So, thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to amend the motion to redirect the $432,000 in direct funding to Caddo Parish citizens to the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund.
Say that again.
Redirect the $432,000 that's slated to the direct funding to Caddo Parish citizens. And take that and redirect it to and add it to the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund.
Okay. Got a motion.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Atkins to redirect $432,000 that was supposed to be directed to the funding of Caddo Parish citizens to
Direct funding.
Direct funding to Caddo Parish citizens to the E. Edward Jones Housing Fund, and it was seconded by Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Atkins, you want to speak to that motion?
Several of us have had problems with direct funding to Caddo Parish citizens. If we're going to help our citizens, let's go through an organized, a well-established structure and a system in that way. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, since I came in and missed part of Mr. Jackson's, what he was doing, can someone explain to me exactly what he was trying to do?
So, one of his motions was to remove some of the language on the scope of work for Lakeside Neighborhood Association. Okay. Instead of doing some work on houses, to take that off, and it's for beautification of the neighborhood. The second one was to add $600,000 for the vaccination campaign awareness, and then he was gonna pull the $200,000 that has already been through our work session, pull that off the agenda.
So we're gonna add 600,000 when we've already got 120,000 being asked for through Kennedy.
Something else. Totally something.
But it says increasing COVID vaccination rates.
Yeah, that's what Kennedy as a nonprofit is doing. Yes, the Kennedy Center.
Okay, that's.
And they work with individuals with disabilities. So they're zero focused on individuals with disabilities.
And that doesn't throw us over
No.
our amount.
We had 2.7. We was under like 2 million, 2 point something. 2.7. So right now we're at 930,000. Because you got 300,000 for the downtown development. Commissioner Gage Watts, we're gonna vote on each one of them separately.
So I may need your help with this one. So you're saying that we are removing the $432,000 to move to E. Edward Jones Trust Fund. So this is to support a GI pilot program for the city of Shreveport. That's the same program you're talking about because you said direct funding. Okay. So no, I would not.
You supported what?
The GI program, that's the one she
Yeah, I knew she.
brought up.
Right.
Military veteran?
No, it's not.
Oh.
No.
That's what they call it.
It's the mayor's GI pilot program
Yeah.
for the 432,000. So we have elected to remove that from all of the other items that have been introduced. And no, I would not support that amendment to remove those funds to put in a different fund.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson, second time.
Yeah, I guess my question was a little bit of some clarification on why I put it there. Is there any logic behind? I guess I should ask that to the author. And, you know, if you recall, the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund is specific for housing development and things like that. So I guess I'm trying to.
I think what he was doing was redirecting the money and putting it for housing instead of paying out citizens.
Oh, okay. So changing the whole program.
Changing the dollar value.
Reallocating the fund,
Right.
reallocating the funds, not changing any programs.
Right.
Right. So
Doing away with the 400,000 to give direct cash to individuals, instead of taking it off the table, he was redirecting those funds to E. Edward Jones for housing.
I hear y'all saying two different
It's
things.
the same.
I agree with what he just said.
Okay, because I heard, so the GI program would just go away.
Yes. Yes.
Or our funding of it.
The funding for it, you would not have any funding. That was his motion.
Yeah.
As tempting as that is, John, I don't know that I would cut my colleague's legs off like that. And I hope she would return. I hope she would. I hope she would return the favor one day. But I just,
I'm trying to see.
They just got some.
We had a point of
Just
clarification.
get on the board.
Oh, sorry.
Hit the board. Go
So
ahead.
no, I just, you know, that is a great offer, and I do think we need as much money as we can in the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund. But I don't want it to be a zero sum situation. So
It's not zero. Nothing's going
Still
to.
there.
we're zeroing hers out. It's a good strategy, though. I might have to try that one day. Thanks, John. Thanks, Mr. President.
All right. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. We were wondering over here what the GI program stands for. The GI, what that?
That's a
Guaranteed
pilot
income.
program that the mayor and the city of Shreveport is doing to fund individuals. Was it $250?
It's gonna be 140 citizens.
140 citizens. What else? At $250 or $500?
$600.
At $600.
It's $600 each month.
Each
So
month.
it's like a basic income.
12 months.
For 12 months.
Yeah, like basic.
To do what?
These individuals will be selected based upon certain criteria, based on really need. Income.
Single parent households. Single parents.
Single parent households, it'd be 125 individuals that would be getting $600 a month for 12 months. All right, so what we'll do now is go to each one of those amendments and vote on each one separately to get back to the motion that we need to get to. So the first one would be John's, which was to reallocate the $432,000 from the GI.
So we'll go last first, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And move it over to E. Edward Jones. That's the one we're finna vote on now.
Okay, so did everybody understand what you're voting on at this point in time?
We voted no.
Okay. Just for the record, the vote that they're taking at this point in time is the motion to amend by taking $432,000 that is in a program for Caddo citizens and moving that to E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund.
Right.
Just to be clear, it's the direct payment program.
Correct.
The GI pilot program.
Okay, and that motion carries with 8 in support and 4 in opposition. And so that brings us to the one before it, which is an amendment from Commissioner Jackson which was a twofold. And if I understood that correctly, they're together, or are they to be taken separately?
Together.
Together?
Yes, sir.
Okay, one is to add 600,000 for vaccine coordination, and also to remove the limitation of repairs being for property damaged by a storm from the Lakeside Area Association.
Does that keep us within budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's vote. I see nobody on the board. So. Just the one, Mr. Jackson proposed the 600,000.
John. Okay, and that passes with 11 in support and 1 in opposition. The next item we have is a motion to fund the Downtown Development Board for revenue replacement in the amount of $300,000. That was Commissioner Taliaferro's motion, I think.
Right.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to send this item to the American Rescue Plan Fund Committee. If I get a second, I'll speak on it. A substitute motion to remand this to the American Rescue Plan Fund Committee. Get a second.
Died of lack of second.
Huh?
Died of a lack of second.
Okay. Well, I'd like to speak on this motion.
You didn't have a second.
Well, I'm saying the motion to the amendment. I'd like to speak on the amendment.
Oh.
Yeah, at this particular time, I'm not in favor of adding this 300,000. I'll tell you why. The Downtown Development Authority is 100% in District 3. Just like y'all have waterworks district, sewer district, downtown development district is a special district in District 3. Director Swain reached out to me on Monday. I told her to get in touch with administration. I believe I shot an email over to y'all and to have a conversation. We had an opportunity to look at everybody else's reserves. We had an opportunity to vet what was going on there. And so to just add this in, we have no obligation. It's statutorily created. Commissioner Burrell, the DDA is statutorily created, and its responsibility is the city of Shreveport. And so for us to jump all the way over here to cover their fund balances, when we barely got enough to cover the DA's fund balances and things, it's kind of like us playing out of our lane. And again, as the commissioner for that area, I would ask for them to go through the same due diligence that every other entity has gone through. I would not step into anybody else's district and propose anything for a waterworks district or a sewer district in your district. And so I respectfully ask that we do not pass this, since we didn't take it to committee, and that hopefully we can go back to the drawing board and have the same conversation, because I'd like to know, is the city of Shreveport going to contribute to this? Did they receive any other rescue dollars? And so I want to make sure there's a proper vetting. Is this the number? Everybody had to take a haircut here. So I respectfully ask, as the representative for downtown for this special district, we don't have a single board member on that board. Not one single board member. And so I would respectfully ask that we not go forward with this on the fly. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to make an amendment to add the $432,000 back into the budget for the GI pilot program.
I'll second that. You want to speak to your motion?
Yes, Mr. President. These direct funds that, let's see if I can talk a little better. So these funds that are being proposed for the GI pilot program is derived from local funds as well as private funds. These are to help single-parent households with small school-age children. This program is not just putting money in anyone's hands, but this is money to change their lifestyles. This program has been utilized throughout the country to see the effects on adding this additional income to their households. So I'm not sure why this one was cut out of the budget, but I'm asking the commissioner's support on it. I think that we had several other items that were in the budget. There was no compromise offered. It went from the requested amount to zero. So if we need to go back in and dissect each one of them, I'm willing to do that as well. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Talaferro?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a couple of quick questions. And I do appreciate Commissioner Jackson's comments because it is his district. I know that Director Liz Swain reached out to me and said, hey, I really didn't get our stuff in on time. Do you think we could be represented? I didn't see an issue with that. She did fill out the appropriate paperwork, even though it was past the timeline. All the other entities that have been brought up to be funded that were not originally considered, would they also go back to the American Rescue Fund Committee?
Is that a question?
Yeah, I guess it's a question for anyone to answer.
Well,
I'm just making sure that, I'd just like to know that if everybody's being treated the same. I have no issues with that. Because I think it's about transparency and making sure that we do the right thing with our dollars. And I don't think, I know that Liz would welcome, any kind of scrutiny because she's usually on top of her game. And so I was just asking.
Well,
So what I would suggest,
is that a question to me or you got it?
I got it. So what I would suggest, since she missed the initial deadline, that if we can pass what we got, and then we'll have another American Rescue Plan meeting this after we, because I hadn't even seen the application. I don't even know what it looked like. I don't even know what's on it. And I'm quite sure everybody on the committee hadn't seen it either.
I have not seen the application.
So I'm saying I hadn't, and other ones on the committee hadn't seen it either. So that we can do this at the next meeting. So the plan that they're gonna be doing is kind of broad based, but we gotta put certain monies in certain buckets for them to put that in the plan. And if this, we got like $2.7 million, which is less than that now, we continue to do what we're doing. So we can have another meeting to add that in. It doesn't have to change the plan that they're writing, but we can then have another meeting to vet it and look at it and then see how much we want to actually award.
Fair enough.
Okay. Commissioner Hopkins.
Call for the question
On
on all of it.
Okay. All right. So what we have to do now is, what I'll do, there's a motion to add $432,000 back to the GI pilot program. That's the last motion that's on the floor. So we'll vote on that one, and then we'll go to the $300,000 for the DDA, and then we'll go to the $30,000 for ICE, and then we'll go to the original amendment, which is to add all the projects into it at 50%. Okay, so now let's vote on calling for the question.
Yes, sir.
I thought.
Second for call for the question. I think we already had it.
I heard somebody.
Yeah, somebody said it. I just.
wanted to talk. I was like, don't say it. They said.
So the question's been called by Commissioner Hopkins, seconded by, who seconded? Somebody over here, I know. Nobody?
Mr. Atkins.
Atkins.
I second.
Okay. All right. Y'all working me today.
Yeah.
Who's outstanding? Commissioner Jackson?
I'm in now.
Okay. Okay, that motion does carry with 9 in support and 3 in opposition.
Okay, so now we'll vote on Commissioner Stormy Gage Watt's amendment.
Correct. This is the motion to move the 432 back to the program that it was taken away.
I'm still no on that.
Call the question.
No, we're voting on Stormy's motion right now. That passes.
Okay, that passes with 7 in support and 5 in opposition.
So now we'll move to Commissioner Talaferro's amendment, which is the $300,000 for DDA.
Okay, and that motion fails with 3 in support and 9 in opposition.
Okay, now we'll move to Commissioner Burrell's amendment, which was at $30,000 for ICE.
Oops. That's the wrong.
All right, that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 in opposition.
All right, so now we'll move to the amendment on adding all of the projects in at 50% that the committee voted on. At 50% for
So it's-
2021.
So it's to approve as amended?
Well, this is another amendment.
Okay.
Then we gotta approve all of the ones we did approve as amended.
All right, thanks,
So there's
sir.
one more left. This is it.
What we voting on?
On the one that I made the motion on, which was at the 50%.
The 50%.
And to put them all into the ordinance. We need to vote again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. We noticed a mouse click caused a little voting error, so we need to redo that one.
Okay, and my screen is frozen for some reason.
Okay, that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us now to...
Now we will vote to adopt as amended.
Correct.
Which would be the motion that I made with the 50%, the 30,000 for ICE, and the 432,000 for the GI Bill.
And those that come in will be at 50% for this year,
Those
correct?
would be also at 50%. And the 600,000 for the
vaccine coordination.
Vaccine coordination.
What about John's amendment?
Huh?
What about John's amendment?
No,
And the language about the
Failed.
lakeside.
no, it passed. She changed it.
Yeah, she changed the
Oh,
name.
okay.
And the lakeside.
Okay.
So we voted on all the ones that we passed.
Okay.
As amended and to adopt.
Okay. Thank you.
And that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. That brings us to the next item, which is ordinance number 6086 of 2021. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund to provide an appropriation of $20,000 for Louisiana urban gardening and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved by the chair, seconded by Commissioner Carthon to adopt ordinance number 6086. Commissioner Talaferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I sent some information out to each commissioner after my conversation with Donna with Shreveport Green. It's always been my hope that this organization, the Urban Gardening Initiative, and Shreveport Green could somehow come together and develop a comprehensive, cohesive plan that would benefit everyone, that would obviously get everybody to the same results. Instead of duplication of effort. I don't recall, nor have I heard if that ever was accomplished. And it also, it was just me trying to look out for spending the $20,000 if they could get together, come up with a plan, bring it back to the commission, ask for additional dollars if necessary to fund that. I would be happy with it. But I was just looking out to not duplicate efforts and use both of these organizations to the betterment of Caddo Parish as a whole.
I think that will be accomplished in the American Rescue Plan with the $775,000 or $750,000 that's awarded in the green space infrastructure. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to respond to Commissioner Taliaferro's concern. I agree that efforts shouldn't be duplicated. This is actually just an increase of effort. They're not doing the same thing, they're doing more stuff. Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson.
So I'd like to make a substitute motion to englobo and advance 6086, 6087, 6088, 6089, 6090, 6092. I can get a second on it. Thank you.
Been moved by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts to adopt, englobo and adopt ordinance number 6086, 6087, 6088, 6089, 6090, 6092.
Mr. Chair, I got a point of clarification.
Okay.
Or note rather. We needed to make an amendment to ordinance 6089. So could you move it out of the englobo?
Okay. So we're gonna englobo.
That's fine?
That's fine.
Okay.
We go in global and adopt 6086, 6087, 6088, 6090, and 6092.
In the interest of time.
And Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, just in the interest of time, you know, I think we've discussed these. They've come up for introduction. We've had time to discuss and peruse and have conversations about them. So just in the interest of time. Because I got to get to a alcohol meeting over there on Hearn.
Okay, Commissioner Caddo.
Anonymous?
No.
Yeah, that was actually for
Okay.
the urban garden thing, but it's already been discussed.
Let me, Mr. President, for the record, point of order, because I think that came into the microphone. I need to get to a neighborhood participation meeting that the MPC is hosting on Hearn Avenue. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Thank you.
Commissioner Chavez.
Yeah, no, I'm with Commissioner Cawthorn, and we need to make an amendment on the 89, so I'll hang tight.
Okay, and then on ordinance number on 6088, I know I should be on there, and I think Commissioner Gage Watts wanted to be on that one too. On the soul
That's the
food.
seafood, I mean, the soul food deal?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I was gonna make that, okay,
All
good.
right. So I see no one else on the board. Let's vote.
It's a good one, Doc. I laid that up good for you.
Oh, and Commissioner Burrell to the soul food as well.
Last time.
Next item now would be.
Mr. President, could I just add that
Wait,
they
one
did
moment,
run
let me
the
call it. It's 12.
economics on
That
soul
motion carries
food.
with 12 in
Yeah,
support,
they did.
none in opposition.
Okay.
Yeah, the economics look good on the soul food.
It's attached,
Yeah.
and it should be in front of you.
Yeah, it was in
Yeah,
front.
in front of you, yes.
So now we're at ordinance number 6089.
Commissioner Cawthorn makes an amendment.
Well, I'm gonna move to adopt it, and y'all
Okay.
figure out what y'all gonna do after that.
What's
Been
that?
moved by the chair, seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts to adopt ordinance number 6089. And y'all got some.
I do. I got a friendly amendment from Commissioner Cawthorn. He wants to add four additional groups. Those groups
Yeah,
being.
Let me go ahead and explain if I may.
Yep.
You know, this cultural center, this cultural fest right now consists of 16 different nationalities. I want to make an amendment that makes it more inclusive so that we don't leave anybody out. And so typically our brothers and sisters of European descent don't typically hyphenate themselves in these Americans, and I do understand that. But what we want to add to the four other nationalities, which is German, Scottish, Irish, Italian, and Polish. So I understand from the Multicultural Arts Center, in the past, those groups have operated here in the community. And so we want to make sure this is as inclusive as possible because we want to include all cultures. So I want to add those four cultures to the makeup.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Cotton to amend ordinance number 6089 to add 4 different cultures, and it was seconded by Commissioner Chavez. That's it? Okay. Commissioner Hopkins.
Actually, I think it says Scotland and Ireland already in the whereas.
Okay.
Being recognized. So.
Maybe we should throw in it. Maybe we should throw in English.
All right, cool. All right.
You want who?
We just wanted to double check
What
in
about
abundance of
English?
caution.
Okay. I can't hear you.
Oh, instead of Scotch Irish, maybe we should throw in English.
English? Yes, we can do that.
All right, I finally got invited.
That was the purpose of this exercise.
Okay, seeing no one else, let's vote.
You've arrived.
And we did it, no money.
All right, and that motion carries with 12 in support, and we forgot Welsh, so I'm still left. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, that so then do we need to do, as I heard that was the motion to adopt.
No, we have to, that
Now-
was to amend it.
Now
That was
adopt,
to
now
amend
that
it.
the
Now
amendment
to
has
amend,
been-
now to adopt as amended.
Okay.
Let's vote.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. That brings us to the next item, which is ordinance number 6094 of 2021. It's an ordinance to close and abandon a portion of the dedication for Lee Boulevard and Linwood Park home sites, unit number 4 in the parish of Caddo, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Atkins, seconded by Commissioner Lazarus to adopt ordinance number 6094 of 2021. Commissioner Atkins, you want to speak to the motion?
I'm not sure if this is my district or, yeah, I thought it was, it was suggested by Public Works. We looked into it. I agree with them, so I would appreciate you all supporting Public Works' recommendation on this.
Commissioner Jackson.
In the interest of time, I'd like to englobo and approve 6094, 6095, 6097. And shouldn't we remove 6098? Since we adopted it with I thought we adopted the wastewater deal with the American Rescue Plan Fund.
We did.
So we can remove 6098.
Right.
So that's my motion.
Second.
To approve those and remove those.
Okay, so it's been, the motion been made by Commissioner Jackson to englobo 6094, 6095, 6097, and 6098. Removing
Remove
number
6098.
6098 and adopting 6094, 6095, and 6097.
Yes.
And seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts. Seeing no one, let's vote. Because I was going to do the same thing. It don't take up all this time on communicating.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to zoning ordinances for introduction by title. Well, we do have one today. It's to introduce ordinance number 6083 of 2021. This was originally on your work session from 2 meetings ago and was postponed to be introduced today. It is in regards to zoning case 21-13-P, an ordinance to amend volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the north side of Flournoy Lucas Road, approximately 515 feet west of Winderweedle Road, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agricultural District to RA PUD Rural Agricultural Planned Unit Development District, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. This is in District 12. Okay, that brings us to ordinances for introduction by title, where we have a couple today. We have 16.1 is to introduce ordinance number 6099 of 2021, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for vaccine and pandemic coordination efforts, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto from the Pandemic Task Force recommendation. And then the next item, 16.2, is to introduce ordinance number 6101 of 2021, an ordinance amending and reenacting section 32-46.1 of the Caddo Parish Code of Ordinances regarding the carrying of weapons and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
On 1699, we can actually remove it, because that's the one we just this passed in the other one, but I know it's in the title, but.
You can remove it next time.
Okay.
But right now, you made the motion to introduce it, so we've just introduced it by title. But then
Alright.
you can withdraw it.
Okay.
So the next item would be work session minutes. Your work session minutes are attached.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Hopkins, second by Commissioner Cardon to adopt work session minutes from August the 2nd, 2021. Seeing no one on the board, let's vote.
And that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. We've already addressed the resolutions on the agenda, so we'll move to old business. We have no old business items today.
Commissioner Jackson?
I'm sorry?
Commissioner Jackson.
Oh, yeah. There was a mention of,
You wanted to reconsider.
there was a motion made earlier when we were out of order.
Oh, I move to reconsider resolution number 61 and send it to the pandemic committee at this time.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Jackson and seconded by Commissioner Burrell to reconsider first. So we got to vote to reconsider first. Resolution number 61. And it has to pass by a simple majority. A simple?
For reconsideration. For
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
So we're voting
You're
first to
voting for the
reconsider.
reconsideration.
Yeah. We open.
Okay, and that motion carries narrowly with 7 in support and 5 in opposition.
Point of information, is considered just a simple majority, or is it a 2/3?
Simple.
Simple majority.
Okay, just want to be sure.
Then I make a motion at this time to place this in the pandemic committee.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jackson to place resolution number 61 to the pandemic task force and seconded by Commissioner Stormy Gage Wise. Let's vote on that.
Okay, and that motion carries with 7 in support and 5 in opposition. Just want to make sure I was reading that right. That screen's a little harder to read today. Okay, and that brings us to new business. So the first item under new business is 20.1. It's to adopt recommendations of the Alcoholic Beverage Committee for selling to underage persons during its June 17th, 2021 meeting. As you'll recall, this was the first meeting of the newly created alcohol committee. Typically, these cases would have come to the full body for a special meeting. Now, due to an item that you adopted earlier this year, these are heard by a committee with recommendations coming to the full body.
Okay. I move to englobo and adopt the recommendation from the Alcoholic Beverage Committee from June 17th, 2021 and July 22nd, 2021.
Second.
Moved by the chair, seconded by Commissioner Hopkins. Seeing no one on the board?
I'm on the board.
Oh, you on the board?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have substitute motion to move to englobo items 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I'll stop there. 'Cause I'm sure.
20.5, 20.4.
32.
So 20.1 through 20.5 is what I
Yes.
heard, correct?
Correct.
I'll second that.
Okay. So we now have another motion to englobo and adopt 20.1, 20.2, 20.3, 20.4, and 20.5. Seeing no one on the board, let's vote.
Oops.
Okay, and that motion carries with 11 in support.
That was
and-
a support. I hit the wrong button.
Okay, 12 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to the next item, discussing the Caddo Caddo Parish following John Bell Edwards' executive order regarding masking. This is just a carryover from the work session. There was some discussion about you had an item that was that was being discussed. It was an ordinance, and there was some discussion about whether to do a resolution or if no action was needed. And so this is an item to follow up on that, allow you the opportunity to clarify what action you'd like.
And I'll make a motion now for Caddo Parish to enforce the proclamation of number 137 of 2021, which was established by Governor John Bell Edwards on August the 2nd, 2021, which makes it mandatory to wear masks inside the building.
Second.
Been moved by the chair, seconded by Commissioner Epperson.
Do we even have to?
Commissioner Young?
I had a question about it. May I ask that, Mr. President?
Yes.
Does the executive order provide any exception for cases like ours where there's plexiglass, or should we also have masks on?
It say if you cannot safely distance within 6 feet, then you wear a mask. But we have isolation here with the shields. Commissioner Talaferro.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick question here. Since it's a governor's executive order, is it necessary that we act at all?
Well, we had an emergency order on, and so what I did as a compromise was just to follow the governor's executive order. But I wanted to make sure that it was documented in our meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Chavez?
Thank you, Chairman. So essentially, we're just ratifying the governor's order?
Yes. I didn't change it, it went off.
Did, I guess when his order falls off, does this one accompany that?
Just like the emergency was for 30 days, this one follows
Cool,
the same.
okay, I'm
Now,
good.
if he's extending it, it would be extended to you.
Sounds good, okay.
All right. So we won't have to address it right anymore. All right. Seeing no one else, let's vote. You won't have drama like you had earlier.
Go ahead, Patrol.
And that motion carries with 10 in support and 2 in opposition. That brings us to the next item, which is to consider the recommendation that all committee hearings be held via teleconference when eligible from the Pandemic Task Force. And Commissioner Epperson, I believe, is the one who made that motion.
Commissioner.
I'd like to make a motion that all our committee meetings be held via Zoom until such time as our pandemic subsides.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Epperson, seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts, to have all committee meetings by Zoom when eligible. Commissioner Hopkins.
I'd like to make a substitute motion recommending
You didn't let me speak on
that.
that.
Whoa, I'm
Oh,
up there.
okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Commissioner Epperson.
Okay. Just want to try to minimize our personal contacts as much as possible, since this variant is really decimated and running its course. Louisiana is one of the tops in the nation as far as contracting the disease. So I think it'd be wise that we minimize ourselves as much as possible personally. Think about, my mom is 91 years old. I think about her. And of course, I think I fit the bill for the certain age category, which I'd rather take a sacrifice for someone else other than myself, because I've been through some tough things, and I don't mind doing it. So I'd ask that you support that. Thank you.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Okay, I'd like to recommend that committee hearings be held via teleconference or in person by call of the chairman
Second.
of the committee, whatever committee it is. So they have a choice.
Oh, okay.
Call that. And the reason, we come down, we have these meetings, we've got a work session, and we've got our regular session. A committee meeting's held in this room. We've got the same setup. But I think being in front together with us, we can work better I mean, our meetings are a lot better than they were when they were Zoomed, because there's just too much going on, and there's too much disconnect. So I'd like to have that substitute motion considered.
Been moved by, it was moved by, and seconded by Atkins, okay. Commissioner Caddo.
Yes, I just want a clarification. You said that based on the call of the chairman of the committee.
That's correct.
Will determine whether it's in the chamber or whether it's
Or
via Zoom.
Zoom.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, so, you know, if it's by Zoom, it has to meet the criteria.
Right.
And if it's in the chamber, then you don't have to meet the criteria. So,
Well, I get that. I was just clarifying.
well, that was for the other committee chair.
Oh, okay.
that might-
Okay.
And just as a point of clarification as well, the current process that is in place does require the committee chairman or the presiding officer of the meeting to certify the agenda. So, you know, really, this is in line with what the requirement already is at the state, because the chairman has to certify that it's appropriate in their eyes to have the meeting by teleconference.
Seeing no one, we'll vote on the substitute motion. First. Are you on board?
Can't be on the board. I don't have that.
We ain't start the vote yet.
Well, I just wanted to comment.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna make the comment too that, you know, given the fact that this virus and stuff is getting worse as it is, then you need to consider whether or not you're gonna have a quorum coming to these face-to-face meetings. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Okay, let's vote.
What we voting on?
On the substitute motion to be able to have it, that the chairperson would make the decision on having it in the chamber or basically by Zoom.
I should have been a yes.
That motion carries with 9 in support and 3 in opposition.
Next item.
That brings us to the recommendation to add a statement of chamber COVID-19 protocols before the Pledge of Allegiance, along with signage in the building and included on the agenda. And as just a quick note, we did go ahead and because of the administration's direction, we did go ahead and add signage in the room and in the building and on the agenda. But should you
Move to approve?
Second.
Commissioner Epperson was on the board. Okay, then moved by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Talaferro. To adopt the recommendation to add the signage to the chamber and have protocols before the pledge. And signage in the building and on the agenda. Pass it by acclamation.
Great.
Next item.
That brings us to the next item, which is a discussion related to trash, litter, and aesthetics in the parish.
Commissioner Epperson.
I'd like to move 2019 and 29 and 2010 to the August 16th work session.
Been moved by Commissioner
About Stormy
Epperson.
Dishwasher.
Been moved by Commissioner Epperson to move items number 20.9 and 20.10 to our next work session agenda. And Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts seconded. As well.
Okay, that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 absent. And that brings us to communiques and committee reports.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I've been waiting a minute, and I'll be very brief.
Thank you. Gotta get to that meeting.
I know. But I do know, I can say for the record, I did pay attention to the meeting a couple of weeks ago when I was in Baton Rouge, and y'all cannot blame me for having those long-winded meetings. So I can't be held responsible for that.
Exclusively. We can't blame you exclusively.
But what I will say is that I want to kind of go back. I hate to look backwards, but I want to go back because something happened, almost happened today, that doesn't sit well with me. If something is going on in your district, I'm going to contact you. I'm going to redirect people to you. And to me, that's just a professional courtesy. That's a professional courtesy. And people like what I've learned in being down here is people like to work around you if they feel like they're not getting their way with you. And people come down here and they advocate for certain things that are district specific, and I look to those commissioners and say, what's up? It's your district. What's going on? And so I would ask for the same professional courtesy. I know I got a lot of things that, you know, that are on the sexy list. DDA, SHRAC, and when I can't get to it, I'll call somebody and say, can you fill in for me? Can you take care of that for me? I got DDA's email, and I asked them to get with administration, just like everybody else did. Just like everybody else did. Do not let these people, do not let organizations play that game. Because as a new commissioner, I can tell you, they play that game. They'll go talk to you and get your commitment. And then they not already talked to me, and I said, y'all need to have a conversation with administration. Now we out here on the floor, battling it out. That's the game they play. But I know I sent them to y'all, just like everybody else did. So that to me is a very sticking point. Some came up somewhere early this week, and I copied the commissioner on there. If something comes up in somewhere, I copy those commissioners on there, and I redirect those people, those individuals to them. Please do that with everybody else. I would never think of coming into somebody else that's got a special district, putting something on this agenda or making an amendment or making a motion for them. The other thing that I want to say before I roll out is, again, we are working as hard as we can with rental assistance. We're doing the best that we can. I urge the public to please be patient. Please be patient. There's not a day that I go by that I don't think I talk to Dr. Wilson, Erica, and Haley about rental assistance and what the parish response is. And so I believe a contract has been signed now. Resources are on the way, and we're going to move as fast as we can to deploy much needed aid to those residents who are in need. And so, Dr. Wilson, I appreciate you and the team for your work on that. And folks do need to know that once this last round of dollars are out, it's out. It's not an infinite pot. And so the media ran out of here once they got the headline, but I hope some of them are watching. Once it's out, it is out. And so we're going to try, and the other thing that I also try to emphasize to people is we try to help as many people as we can with the most that they can get. And so I think a lot of people are under the impression that they're going to get 12 months automatically, and that's not a guarantee. And so when you out before giving out any misinformation or anything, please, if you direct them to Dr. Wilson and his team, will respond. But I know the media last week was when the eviction moratorium was expiring, they were looking for cracks. They were looking for cracks in the story, so they called around trying to see who would give them something inconsistent. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to create any panic, more panic than what's already out there. So thanks again, and we definitely appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Gage White.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I just want to say thank you to administration for assisting my constituents anytime they need assistance with anything. I really appreciate you all. Thank you for everything that you do. Director Kelvin Samuel and Travis Clark, thank you so much with everything with animal control. We have a wonderful staff, and I just wanted to acknowledge you all first. My next question is, they're doing a lot of clearing of property on South Lake Shore and creating a road that leads to Lake Shore. The trees are being cleared out. Is anyone familiar with what's going on with that project? in District 7? No?
Yeah.
If not, someone get the information for me.
Yeah. For you?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
South Lake.
Okay,
We'll give it to the commission.
thank you. That's it, Mr. President.
Commissioner Caddo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fellow commissioners, there's a flyer in front of you guys that's from the Women of Vision, and it's a Stay Safe Resource Health Fair, which is going to be held August 14, 2021 from 10 a.m. to noon. It's going to have various speakers. The purpose is to educate and update participants concerning pertinent issues on safety and resources available. And then it lists who the speakers are going to be. And then also there's going to be, LSU is working with them for drive-through COVID testing and vaccinations. So Commissioner Atkins, this is consistent with us trying to educate the public and encourage the public to get vaccinations. I'd like for us to partner with them in some shape, form, or fashion. But it's going to be located at Mount Olive Baptist Church at 740 Turner Lane, which is in the Cedar Grove section of town. And so encourage you guys to disseminate this information to your constituency and the public at large. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Burrell.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to get a clarification maybe from the administration on the new moratorium that has been extended, federal moratorium. Is that, do I understand that correctly, that Congress extended it
Yes, sir,
to October or something?
I think it's October 3rd.
Yeah,
Yes, sir, the eviction moratorium.
right.
Yes, sir.
So would that mean that will affect everyone locally?
For the time being, we're all acting on it, unless something changes in it. It's till October 3rd. There's a new date.
Okay, well, with that moratorium being on for those landlords that have tenants that may wind up staying in the property and not paying, how do you, what message do you send them?
Well, we're hoping that they get the word on the moratorium and comply. I mean, we can only hope that they
I
would.
guess what I'm asking you, would their payment be extended to October under
The payment will go as long as we have funds available.
So they would have to resubmit?
Pardon me?
Would they have to resubmit for an extension?
For the rental assistance?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, once we get everybody caught up, they have to keep reapplying.
Okay.
Right? I'm sorry. I tend to be corrected. What's the word?
The eviction moratorium is extended to October the 3rd, but there is a form that you have to fill out in order to qualify for the eviction moratorium. It is not across the board. We have put those forms on our website, caddo.org, and you can, the tenant can go and get the form that the CDC put out and then give that to their landlord. As far as the ERAP program and reapplying, it's not so much a reapply, it's a recertification. So if they've reached the point where they have to recertify to get more funds, they will be notified that they need to recertify. They just need to keep an eye on their account. And if the landlord is attached to the account, the landlord will get the same information so they can kind of poke on their tenant, if you will. And it's not, they won't get money in it forever. They can only get 15 months. So once they've reached 15 months, if they continue to go without being able to pay their rent, there's nothing more that we can do with it. We can only pay 15 months.
So if the leasee, the renter, has been a part of the Caddo program, rental program, up through July, and they've extended it now to October, then the renter has to go back and reapply.
No, they don't have to reapply ever. They just have to recertify, but they will be directed to do that once they get to a certain point. in the program. But if, just because the eviction moratorium ended in July, we have tenants that can no longer receive funding because they've already gotten 15 months. So once they hit 15 months, then they can't receive any more funding. So if there's a tenant or any issue, you can just call me and I can let you know what their status is and how many months they've gotten and all that, and I can help y'all with that.
All right, thank you.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next item is going to be citizens' comments, late arrivals.
We skipped the
Where
president
citizens
report.
who wish to address the commission on any issue other than zoning can fill out a comment card.
You
Comments are
skipped the
limited.
president report.
I'm sorry, I skip over president's report.
Yes, you did.
That is unintentional, I apologize.
All right, it's pretty short. First of all, I want to thank the administration for your hard work on the emergency rental assistance program. We pretty much led the state in our process of doing it. I think the only other one that gave out more money in a shorter period of time was maybe Orleans Parish. But they dealing with a lot more people at the same time. I've been hit up a couple times about, helping the people pass the rental assistance piece by doing, directing them to some like a financial help kind of deal. United Way has one with the city. And some people are trying to say that we should be doing that too, to help them, to educate them on how not to get back in this kind of situation again. So we can kind of look at that maybe,
Talk about the
if
financial
it'll
literacy
fit.
piece? The financial literacy?
Yes. One of those kind of, seminars, classes, or whatever it might be.
Some of our partner agencies does provide that, but we didn't want to make it part of the ERAP process and make it more complicated. But that
Well,
is
not
available.
just to make it required, but just let them know that there is some assistance and some help out there.
Okay.
Just to educate them, not just making it mandatory, because I think it's too late in the game to try to do something like that. But just to let them know that there is help out there to get them on the right track, besides just giving them some money and say, do the right thing. I also want to thank the administration also for working with the committee on the American Rescue Plan, the state and local fiscal plan monies. That was a lot to do in a short period of time, and we basically had, I think it was almost $21 million over the amount that we had, and we got it down to being $2.7 million under budget, which we kind of ate at today, but at least we had that room that we could actually do that. And then I think the last thing I'm gonna say is State Representative Sam Jenkins' wife funeral will be this Saturday at 12 o'clock at the Municipal Auditorium. And they do have a viewing Friday.
Yes.
I think it's at the Municipal too, around 6, I think.
3 o'clock.
So just asking the public to keep him in your prayers during this difficult time, him and his family. And I think that's about it. Now we can go to late arrivals.
All right, and I apologize. So citizens' comments, late arrivals, citizens are asked to fill out a comment card and return it to the clerk or president. And comments are limited to 3 minutes. I have not received any.
I don't have any either.
Move to adjourn.
All right.